Negative thinking can feel like an invisible force holding you back. It whispers doubts, feeds fears, and keeps you stuck in a cycle that prevents you from reaching your potential. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by negative thoughts or found yourself spiraling into self-doubt, you're not alone. The good news is, you can take control. You don't have to let your mind dictate your success. The power to change your thinking is in your hands, and once you start, it can completely transform the way you approach life. This isn't just about thinking positively for the sake of it. It's about actively taking steps to stop negative thoughts in their tracks and replacing them with empowering ones that fuel your growth. Imagine what your life could look like if you could eliminate the thoughts that limit you, the ones that make you question your abilities or hold you back from taking bold action. You have the power to do that. In this video, we're going to dive deep into how you can stop negative thinking from controlling your life. We'll talk about the habits and strategies you can adopt every single day to replace those thoughts with ones that will push you forward. We'll discuss how you can act with confidence, even when doubt creeps in, and how you can train your mind to focus on what truly matters, instead of getting lost in the noise. This is more than just motivation. It's about creating real, lasting change. If you're tired of being held back by the negativity in your head, stay tuned. What you're about to learn could be the breakthrough you've been waiting for. Now, let's get started on killing your negative thinking for good. Chapter 1. Identify your toxic thoughts and reject them immediately. Negative thinking is not something that randomly appears. It grows over time, shaped by your environment, your habits, and your inner dialogue. The problem is that most people never stop to examine what's actually going on in their own minds. They accept every thought as truth, even when it tears them down. They believe the worst about themselves without asking where that belief came from. They carry around doubts, fears, guilt, and shame, as if these emotions are facts carved in stone. But they're not. They are mental habits. And like any habit, they can be broken. The first real step in changing your life is recognizing that not every thought in your head deserves your attention. Some thoughts lie. Some thoughts are poison. Some thoughts were planted by the wrong people in the past and have no place in your future. To rise, you need to challenge those thoughts. And to do that, you need to start by identifying which ones are toxic and rejecting them the moment they show up. Most negative thoughts disguise themselves as logic. They come wrapped in reason, pretending to protect you from disappointment or failure. You hear them when you're about to take a risk, when you want to start something new, or when you're trying to stand tall after being knocked down. That voice says you're not good enough, not smart enough, not strong enough. It says you've failed too many times, or that others are just better. It whispers that it's safer to stay small, to give up, to hide. That voice is not your protector. It's your limiter. It doesn't keep you safe, it keeps you stuck. You cannot fix what you don't face. That's why awareness is the beginning of all change. Start by listening. Pay attention to the way you talk to yourself. What do you say when you look in the mirror? What do you think when you try something difficult? What do you hear when you fail or fall short? That dialogue matters more than you think. Your inner voice sets the tone for your life. And if that voice is filled with shame, doubt, or defeat, it becomes a prison. You don't have to fix every thought you've ever had. You don't need to dig through your entire past. You just need to be present and honest enough to say, this thought is not helping me. When you can label a thought as toxic, you strip it of its power. It's no longer a truth. It becomes a pattern. And patterns can be changed. You need to catch those thoughts in the moment. The second your mind tells you that you're not enough, interrupt it, reject it, replace it, do it instantly. Don't argue with it. Don't try to prove it wrong with long explanations. Just say, no, that's not true, that's not who I am. That thought has no place here. Then choose a better one. Choose a thought that fuels your growth, not one that feeds your fear. Even if you don't fully believe it yet, speak it anyway. Speak strength until it starts to feel real. This process takes discipline. You won't master it overnight. But each time you catch a toxic thought and shut it down, you train your mind to work for you instead of against you. It's like strengthening a mental muscle. At first it's hard, and you may only catch the thoughts after they've already dragged you down. But over time, you'll become faster. You'll recognize the pattern before it takes over. And then you'll choose a better direction. It's also important to understand where some of these thoughts come from. Maybe you had a parent who criticized you constantly. Maybe you were bullied. Maybe you failed in a public way and never fully forgave yourself. Maybe someone you loved betrayed you, and now you question your worth. These experiences matter, but they don't define your future. The people who hurt you do not get to live in your mind forever. The mistakes you made do not get to speak into your identity. You are not your past. You are what you decide to do now. You're not weak for having negative thoughts. Everyone does. What separates the strong from the stuck is what they do about those thoughts. Weakness is not falling into negative thinking. Weakness is accepting it as the only truth. Strength is pausing, looking at that thought, questioning it, choosing something better even when the negative one feels more familiar. That is power. You will need to distance yourself from environments that feed your toxic thoughts. If you're surrounded by people who complain all the time, who gossip, who doubt everything, who drain your energy with constant negativity, you will absorb that mindset. Protect your mind like your life depends on it, because it does. Limit your exposure to media that makes you feel small or hopeless. Watch what you feed your brain. You become what you consume. Another practical way to reject toxic thinking is to journal your thoughts every morning or night. Write down the thoughts that come up most often, especially the ones that weigh you down. Look at them on paper. Ask yourself, is this thought helpful? Is it true? Is it serving me or sabotaging me? Then cross it out. Write a new thought next to it. One that strengthens you. One that brings clarity and courage. This is not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about being honest and taking charge of your mind, instead of letting your mind take charge of you. Don't wait until life is peaceful to do this work. You need to kill negative thinking in the middle of the storm, because that's when it does the most damage. That's when it creeps in and convinces you to quit. That's when you must stand your ground. You must become the kind of person who doesn't crumble in chaos. You become that by learning to lead your thoughts no matter what's happening outside of you. No one else can do this work for you. People can guide you, support you and inspire you, but only you can decide what thoughts you allow to stay. You are the gatekeeper of your mind. And if something toxic tries to come in, it's your job to shut the door. Not tomorrow. Not when life gets easier. Now. Every breakthrough starts with a decision to stop believing the same old lies. Every turning point begins with the moment you say, enough. Enough self-doubt. Enough self-sabotage. Enough fear of what people think. Enough shrinking to fit inside a life that's smaller than the one you're meant for. You don't need more information. You need more commitment to protect your mind like it's the foundation of your entire life, because it is. The truth is, most people never change their lives because they never change their thinking. They try to change their behavior, their job, their body, their relationships. But if the thinking stays toxic, nothing else lasts. You have to go to the root. You have to deal with what's going on in your mind every day. That's where your real life is being built, quietly, thought by thought. This work is not flashy. It's not always exciting, but it's life-changing. Every time you reject a toxic thought, you are choosing growth over fear. You are planting a seed of confidence, strength, and self-respect. You are creating the kind of mindset that can carry you through anything. And that is the beginning of everything. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who hears them. And you are the one who decides which ones get to stay. The moment you choose to reject what's toxic, you begin the process of becoming who you were always meant to be. Not perfect, but powerful. Not fearless, but brave enough to keep going. Keep doing the work. Keep rejecting the lies. Keep choosing the thoughts that lead you forward. The quality of your life will rise to meet the quality of your thoughts. So kill the negative ones and protect the good ones like your future depends on it, because it does. Chapter 2. Speak only positive words to rewire your thinking. Most people never realize how much power their words hold. They speak without thinking, repeat what they've heard, and then wonder why their minds stay stuck in the same cycles of doubt, fear, and frustration. If you want to rewire your thinking, you have to start by transforming the words that come out of your mouth. Every word you speak is either shaping a stronger version of you or reinforcing your old limitations. There is no neutral ground. You are either feeding your growth or feeding your pain. It all begins with your language. Negative thinking doesn't just live in your mind, it leaks into your words. It shows up in how you describe yourself, how you talk about your challenges, and how you label your future. If you speak defeat, you condition yourself to expect failure. If you speak fear, you strengthen your anxiety. If you constantly tell yourself that you're tired, stuck, or overwhelmed, those words sink deep into your belief system and start to feel like your identity. The longer you speak that way, the more real it becomes. But here's the truth. Your words are commands. They program your brain. They create patterns. They build mental habits. The words you repeat become beliefs, and beliefs shape your behavior. That's why changing the way you speak is not just about sounding more positive, it's about taking full control of how you condition your mind. If you want to think better, live better, and feel stronger, then you must discipline yourself to speak only in a way that builds you. Most people don't even notice the way they speak about their own lives. They say things like, "I'm always tired, nothing ever works out for me, I'm just not that confident, this is just how I am." Those phrases sound casual, but they are destructive. Every time you say those words, you're carving them deeper into your identity. You're reinforcing a narrative that keeps you stuck in the past. And if you keep speaking like that, you'll never grow beyond the story you've been telling yourself. Rewiring your thinking requires consistent action, not just hope. You must become intentional with every word. That means cutting off self-defeating language at the root. If you catch yourself saying, "I can't," you replace it with "I'm learning how." If you feel like saying "this is too hard," you choose to say "this is making me stronger." When you're tempted to say, "I always mess things up," you replace it with "I'm improving every day." It doesn't matter if you don't fully believe it yet. What matters is that you speak words that support who you're becoming, not who you used to be. Words affect your emotions. They affect your physiology. they shape your decisions. Say something negative about yourself out loud and notice how your body reacts. You'll feel heavier, slower, less motivated. Now say something empowering. Say, "I've got this, I'm in control, or I can handle whatever comes next." You'll feel your chest open, your energy rise, your mindset shift. That's not imagination. That's neuroplasticity in action. Your brain listens to what you say, and it believes repetition. That's why the most powerful tool for rewiring your thoughts is not just meditation or journaling. It's the language you use every single day. Speak like someone who believes in themselves. Speak like someone who expects progress. Speak like someone who is building a better life on purpose. That's how you take control of your inner world. You don't have to fake positivity. This isn't about ignoring challenges or pretending everything is perfect. This is about choosing a language that keeps you focused, resilient, and forward-moving no matter what's going on around you. You can speak with strength and honesty at the same time. You can say, "This is tough, but I'm tougher." You can say, "I feel uncertain, but I'll figure it out." The key is to use your words to lead your mind, not let your emotions lead your language. If you've spent years speaking negatively about yourself, don't expect it to change overnight. This is not about perfection, it's about repetition and intention. Every time you catch yourself slipping into old language patterns, pause and reset. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Over time, your inner voice will change too. You won't just sound more confident, you'll start to believe it. One of the most powerful practices you can start today is using daily affirmations that are real and rooted in effort. Not vague fantasies, not empty hype. Speak words that align with your actions and your goals. Say things like, "I'm becoming more disciplined every day. I stay calm when things get hard. I'm focused on progress, not perfection." Speak it in the morning. Speak it during the hard moments. Speak it when you don't feel like it, because that's when you need it most. Language also affects how others see you and treat you. If you constantly speak negatively about yourself in front of others, they start to believe that version of you too. They treat you the way you present yourself. But when you speak with strength, clarity and self-respect, you raise the standard. You teach people how to treat you by the way you speak about yourself. Pay attention to your vocabulary. Replace words like impossible with challenging. Replace failure with lesson. Replace weak with growing. These shifts may seem small, but they change your entire mindset. Language is how you shape your reality. The words you speak today become the beliefs you live by tomorrow. Another essential strategy is being mindful of the conversations you engage in. Negative thinking is contagious. If you're around people who complain all the time, speak about lack, or constantly highlight problems without offering solutions, that energy seeps into your own thinking. You start to mirror their language without even noticing. Choose your conversations wisely. Speak with people who uplift, challenge and inspire. Create a standard for your communication. Don't participate in gossip, blame or self-pity. Those habits weaken your thinking. Replace them with meaningful dialogue, solution-based thinking, and positive reinforcement. When you begin to speak with purpose, you'll notice a shift in your focus. You'll stop obsessing over what's missing and start appreciating what's working. You'll stop talking about what you fear and start speaking about what you're building. You'll stop describing your life as if you're stuck and start claiming your power to improve it. That mindset shift changes everything, because what you focus on grows, and what you speak about you strengthen. To make this transformation stick, create a trigger habit. Attach positive speech to daily actions. When you wake up, speak one empowering sentence out loud. When you look in the mirror, say something respectful to yourself. When you feel overwhelmed, remind yourself of your progress. These micro moments add up. You don't need to change everything in one day. You just need to speak better words today than you did yesterday. You also need to eliminate sarcasm, self-deprecating jokes, and just kidding insults about yourself. Those phrases may seem harmless, but they teach your brain to associate humor with weakness or limitation. Stop making fun of yourself. Speak with the same level of kindness and respect you would offer to someone you care about. You deserve that same energy from yourself. You cannot think like a winner if you speak like a victim. You cannot develop a growth mindset if you're always talking about how stuck you are. The way you speak is a reflection of how seriously you take your life. So take it seriously. Speak like your future depends on it, because it does. You don't need permission to change your language. You don't need anyone's approval to speak differently. You just need to decide that you're done speaking in a way that keeps you small. Your words should empower your direction, not remind you of your limitations. Every sentence you speak can either build a stronger mindset or reinforce an old identity. Choose wisely. If you want real change, speak like it's already happening. Use your voice to anchor your values. Say, "I am committed." Say, "I stay calm under pressure." Say, "I keep going no matter what." These are not just affirmations. These are identities. Every time you say them, you make them more real. Speak them so often that your mind stops doubting and starts believing. In hard moments, your words are your anchor. When you feel tempted to spiral into negativity, use your voice to pull yourself out. Don't wait until you feel better. Speak first, feeling will follow. Say, "This is temporary, I can handle it." Say, "I've faced worse and made it through." Say, "I'm not giving up today." That's how you lead your emotions instead of being led by them. Rewiring your mind is not about pretending you're perfect. It's about committing to growth in the way you speak, act, and show up daily. You will slip. You will speak in old patterns sometimes. That's okay. What matters is that you catch it faster each time. The faster you course correct, the faster your mind adapts to the new standard. Speak only positive words, not because life is easy, but because you are choosing to rise above the old patterns that kept you small. Speak only what helps you grow. Speak only what moves you forward. Speak only what makes you stronger. You are training your mind to expect progress. You are speaking the kind of life you want to live into existence, and with enough consistency, your words will stop being tools, they will become your truth. Speak like it already belongs to you, and soon it will. Chapter 3. Replace doubts with daily acts of courage. Most people hesitate because they believe they need to feel confident before they act. But confidence isn't something you wait for, it's something you build. And the only way to build it is by doing the thing that scares you. Doubt is not a sign to stop. It's a sign that you've reached the edge of your current comfort zone, and that's exactly where you should lean in. If you want to grow, you have to stop waiting for fear to go away. You replace it by choosing courage in the small moments, every single day. Courage is not about being fearless. It's about doing what matters even when your mind tries to convince you otherwise. Doubts are sneaky. They dress up as logic. They whisper questions like, "What if it doesn't work out? What if I fail? What if I'm not ready?" But here's the truth. Those questions don't deserve your time. They only hold power if you give them attention. Every time you take a small step forward, despite those thoughts, you weaken the grip that fear has on your future. Most people talk themselves out of greatness. They want the results, but they can't handle the discomfort of pushing through doubt. They delay. They overthink. They settle. And the more they hesitate, the more their belief in themselves shrinks. The opposite is also true. The more you act with courage, the more you realize that your fears were exaggerating the risk. Courage doesn't come in loud, dramatic moments. It's built in silence. It shows up in the daily decisions that no one claps for, when you make the call, when you show up anyway, when you say yes to the challenge, even while your hands shake. Doubt feeds on inaction. When you do nothing, it grows louder. It gets stronger when you avoid what you know you need to face. The only way to shrink it is by doing the exact thing it tells you to run from. When doubt says, "You're not good enough," you prove it wrong by improving a little each day. When it says, "You can't handle this," you prove it wrong by staying with it one moment longer. Doubt cannot survive in the presence of consistent, courageous action. No one becomes strong by staying safe. You have to risk embarrassment. You have to risk failing. You have to risk being seen trying. There is no shortcut around that. But every time you face your fears, you gain a kind of internal strength that no one can give you and no one can take away. You start to trust yourself, not because everything went perfectly, but because you showed up when it mattered. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. That moment will never come. There will always be a reason to wait. There will always be a voice telling you it's not the right time. But here's what separates the people who change their lives from the people who stay stuck. They act anyway. They stop making fear the reason for inaction. They take the leap. They get uncomfortable on purpose. And over time, what once felt impossible becomes part of who they are. Your mind will try to protect you. It wants to keep you from failure. It wants you to avoid pain. But the cost of that protection is progress. If you let doubt decide, you stay exactly where you are. Growth requires risk. It requires exposure. It requires you to walk into uncertainty and figure it out as you go. That's not recklessness. That's ownership. That's how you reclaim your life from hesitation and excuses. Start small if you have to. You don't need to leap across mountains. You just need to take one bold step each day. Say what needs to be said. Ask for what you want. Raise your standards. Try again after setbacks. Speak up even when your voice shakes. Courage compounds. The more you practice it, the easier it gets. And with enough repetition, you won't just act bravely. You'll start seeing yourself as someone who always shows up with strength. There is no magic formula for overcoming self-doubt. But there is a system, and that system is built on behavior. You act your way into belief. You earn confidence through action. You stop telling yourself you're not ready. And you start proving that readiness isn't something you wait for, it's something you earn through movement. The most successful people aren't fearless. They're simply committed to taking the next step even when fear is present. Every single time you choose courage, you reclaim power. Power over your excuses. Power over your hesitation. Power over the narrative that has kept you stuck. The world doesn't give you permission to be great. You create that permission by showing up with boldness, even when it's uncomfortable. No one else can make you do this. It has to come from your own decision to stop letting doubt be the driver. You will be tempted to give up. There will be days when fear feels louder than your purpose. But those are the exact days that define you. Those are the moments that build your character. You can either retreat or rise. You can either let the fear win, or you can remind yourself that one moment of courage today is worth more than 1,000 perfect plans that never get acted on. There's no such thing as failure when you're learning. When you act with courage, and things don't go as planned, you don't lose, you evolve. You get smarter. You get tougher. You gain insights that you could never get from just thinking or preparing. And that growth is worth more than playing it safe. If you want a life that's meaningful, you have to stop trying to avoid mistakes. You have to embrace the mess. Because that's where your strength is built. Too many people think that confidence is a feeling. It's not. It's a pattern. And you build that pattern by consistently doing things that scare you. Not reckless things, purposeful things, things that align with your goals, things that stretch your abilities. That's where self-respect is born. That's where doubt gets replaced by proof. You stop wondering if you're capable because your actions speak for themselves. If you struggle with fear, don't wait to feel ready. Just commit to doing one hard thing every single day. Start with what's within reach. Choose the thing you've been putting off. Have the conversation you've been avoiding. Ask the question you've been scared to ask. The only way out of doubt is through it. And the more you face it head on, the more it shrinks. What once paralyzed you becomes a memory. What once seemed impossible becomes your normal. Courage is not just for big life moments. It belongs in your routine. It belongs in how you carry yourself each morning. It belongs in how you respond to criticism, how you lead when things get hard, how you show up when it would be easier to retreat. The most powerful transformations don't happen because of one big leap. They happen because you decide, day after day, not to let fear choose your path. You won't always see the results right away. You'll act with courage and wonder if it mattered. You'll take the risk and question whether it was worth it. But every bold step you take becomes part of your foundation. Even when the world doesn't see it, you're building something inside that can never be undone. You're building mental toughness. You're building resilience. You're becoming the kind of person who trusts themselves enough to bet on their future, even when the present feels uncertain. Most people dream about being brave, but they never take the daily steps to become that version of themselves. They wait for the big moment to rise. But by then it's too late. Courage is something you train for, just like discipline, just like focus. You don't wait for the crisis to learn how to respond. You practice every day by doing the small things that scare you. That's how you prepare yourself for the storm. That's how you build the mindset that doesn't shake when life hits hard. Replace doubts with actions. Replace fear with forward motion. Replace hesitation with effort. That's how you train your brain to support your progress. That's how you rewire your thinking. That's how you turn uncertainty into strength. You don't have to be loud. You just have to be consistent. You just have to show yourself every single day that fear will not decide who you become. You are one act of courage away from changing the direction of your life. Not because it solves everything in one day, but because it sets a new standard. It tells your mind we move forward, no matter what. And once that becomes your habit, nothing can stop your momentum. Doubt may still show up. Fear may still whisper, but they won't control you anymore, because you've made a decision. And that decision is to rise, to act, to replace fear with fire, and keep going. Chapter 4. Take control of your self-talk with intention. Most of the battles you fight happen in silence. They begin in your mind, long before the world ever sees your actions. And the most powerful influence over those battles is not what people say about you, it's what you say to yourself. Your self-talk is the foundation of your mental world. It's either building your strength or feeding your doubts. And if you're not in control of it, it will take control of you. That's why you need to stop being passive about the way you speak to yourself. You need to take charge. You need to make every word intentional, deliberate, and aligned with the person you are becoming. Too many people let their inner voice turn into their biggest enemy. They beat themselves up for past mistakes. They criticize every small flaw. They replay failures like a broken record. And over time, that internal noise becomes their default state. It steals confidence. It weakens discipline. It makes growth feel impossible. But you're not stuck with that voice. You can change it. You can train it. You can teach it to speak with clarity, strength, and purpose. You don't fix negative self-talk by ignoring it. You fix it by confronting it with truth. When your mind says, "You're not good enough," you don't let that slide. You challenge it. You remind yourself of what you've overcome. You list what you're building. You bring facts to the emotion. When your inner critic tells you that you'll never succeed, you don't agree. You respond with action. You prove it wrong with your behavior. This is how you take back control. You stop letting old patterns dictate your current mindset. The way you speak to yourself becomes your internal environment. And just like you can't grow in toxic soil, you can't thrive with a toxic inner dialogue. Every word matters. Every phrase shapes your focus. Every sentence you repeat becomes a belief. And every belief you allow becomes a part of your identity. So don't let your mind wander into self-doubt, shame, or defeat. Bring it back. Redirect it. Speak to yourself with the same strength you would offer someone you care about. Because if you don't stand up for yourself in your own head, no one else can do it for you. Intentional self-talk doesn't mean lying to yourself. It means choosing language that moves you forward. It means being honest without being cruel. You can admit when you've messed up without destroying your confidence. You can face challenges without framing yourself as a failure. You can be aware of your flaws without letting them define you. This balance of truth and encouragement is how real growth happens. It's how you stay grounded and resilient at the same time. Everything you do is influenced by your inner language. How you train, how you work, how you recover from setbacks, how you respond to stress. If the voice in your head is telling you that you can't handle the pressure, you'll fold under it. But if that voice is trained to say, "You've been through worse and came out stronger," you'll rise through it. Your self-talk becomes your internal leadership. It's not just noise, it's direction. And the more intentional it becomes, the more aligned your actions become with your goals. Your thoughts don't just happen. They are created through repetition. So if you've spent years feeding yourself doubt, fear, and negativity, it's going to take daily effort to shift that pattern. But it's possible. You start by catching the thoughts that don't serve you. You don't let them pass unchallenged. You question them. You correct them. You replace them with words that support your discipline, your clarity, and your mission. This isn't a one-time fix. It's a lifestyle. Wake up and speak to yourself like your future depends on it, because it does. Your mindset isn't built through motivation alone. It's shaped by what you repeat to yourself in the moments when no one else is watching. You need to become the kind of person who speaks victory, even when you're exhausted. Who speaks strength even when you're uncertain. Who speaks persistence even when the results haven't shown up yet. Because that inner language will carry you when willpower runs low. There's no external strategy that can save you if your inner world is working against you. You can have the best goals, the clearest vision, the strongest plan, but if the voice in your head keeps tearing you down, you won't make it far. That's why this work is so critical. This is not just mindset, it's mental discipline. It's learning how to coach yourself instead of criticize yourself. It's learning how to redirect your attention from what's missing to what you're building. And this isn't about being fake or overly positive. This is about being deliberate. If you're tired, you don't say, "I'm done." You say, "I've got more in me." If you're behind, you don't say, "I've failed." You say, "I'm learning." If you're doubting yourself, you don't say, "I can't do this." You say, "I'm growing through this." This kind of language isn't about ignoring reality. It's about framing it in a way that gives you power instead of taking it away. Most people live in reaction to their thoughts. They let their inner dialogue go unchecked, like background noise. But you're not most people. You don't settle for default thinking. You shape it. You craft it. You speak on purpose. And when you do, your mind becomes your ally instead of your enemy. It becomes your support system instead of your sabotage. You don't need to control every thought that pops up, but you do need to take responsibility for the ones you let stay. The best performers in the world, whether it's athletes, entrepreneurs or creators, don't have perfect minds, but they've trained themselves to redirect. When their thoughts go negative, they shift. When doubt creeps in, they don't indulge it. They act. That's the skill, that's the discipline. And the good news is that it's learnable. You just need to start. You need to pay attention. You need to catch yourself when the thoughts get lazy. And you need to choose words that reflect strength, focus and growth. You are always in conversation with yourself. The question is, are you speaking with fear or with intention? Are you repeating limits or declaring possibilities? Are you tearing yourself down or building yourself up? If your self-talk isn't helping you grow, it's holding you back. If it isn't supporting your goals, it's sabotaging your future. And you have the power to change that, starting now. Every time you speak with intention, you are reinforcing a standard. A standard for how you treat yourself. A standard for how you show up. A standard for what you expect from your mind. This is how you build mental toughness. This is how you stop spiraling when things go wrong. You take command of the language in your head. You don't let emotions dictate the narrative. You bring awareness to your thinking and reframe it with power. Don't underestimate the impact of a single sentence. The words you speak to yourself right before a challenge matter. The words you whisper to yourself after a failure matter. The words you repeat when no one else is around. They matter most, because they shape your momentum. They define your relationship with discipline. They either move you toward your goals or drift you further away. This is the real work. This is where change begins, not just in habits, not just in strategy, but in the words that drive your identity. Speak to yourself as someone who refuses to settle. Speak like someone who takes ownership. Speak with clarity, not confusion. Speak with purpose, not pity. Speak with the belief that you are building something meaningful and that every word counts. Train your self-talk like a muscle. Be consistent. Be patient. Be ruthless in removing language that weakens you. And over time, the new words will become your default. You'll start to notice that your inner voice doesn't doubt you as much. That it encourages you. That it pushes you. That it reminds you who you're becoming. Not because the world changed, but because you took control of the only thing that truly matters, how you speak to yourself in the quiet moments. Your mind listens to your voice. Make sure that voice is intentional. Make sure it's disciplined. Make sure it's aligned with your vision. Because once you take control of your self-talk, you take control of your actions. And once you take control of your actions, you take control of your life. Chapter 5. Focus on what you can fix right now. There's a trap most people fall into every day. They think about everything that's out of their control. They replay things they can't change, worry about what might happen, and obsess over what other people are doing. And without realizing it, they waste energy, time, and focus on everything except the one thing that matters, the present moment and what they can do about it. You can't control the past. You can't control the future. You can't control the actions of other people. But you can always take responsibility for what you do right now. You can always decide how you respond, how you think, how you act, and how you move forward. That's where your power is. And that's the only place your attention should be. If you spend your life distracted by things you can't influence, you'll never find peace. You'll never feel grounded. You'll always feel like something is missing, like you're behind, like you're not doing enough. Not because you're failing, but because your focus is in the wrong place. The truth is, you already know what needs to be done. You already have the next step in front of you. But if you're too busy thinking about everything outside your control, you'll miss it. You'll waste today trying to fix things that aren't yours to fix. You'll overlook the simple, powerful actions that could change your life slowly and permanently. Your energy is limited. Your time is short. You don't get today back. You can either use it to complain, compare, worry, or distract yourself, or you can use it to do something that moves you forward. Even the smallest improvement you make right now is worth more than 1,000 hours spent overthinking. You're not supposed to figure everything out in one moment. You're supposed to work with what you have. Make progress with what's in front of you. Get better at what's already in your hands. That's how real growth happens. That's how confidence is built. That's how discipline becomes a lifestyle, not just an idea. You might not be able to change the big picture today. You might not be able to solve every problem, reach every goal, or fix every situation. But you can take one small step. You can clean your environment. You can finish what you started. You can correct your attitude. You can give full effort to what's in front of you. These are the things that matter, and these are the things that will transform your life, not because they're dramatic, but because they're consistent. Focusing on what you can fix right now is not about settling. It's about refusing to waste time on fantasy. It's about taking ownership of your reality. It's about understanding that the most powerful changes are the ones that start small and grow strong. No one builds anything lasting by trying to fix everything at once. They start where they are. They face what's in front of them. They commit to improving one thing at a time. That's the path to mastery. That's the path to peace. That's the path to real control. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop looking for permission. Stop thinking you need to solve every problem before you start moving. You're already in motion. You're already living. And your responsibility is to use this moment to the fullest. Not next week. Not next month. Not when you feel more confident or more prepared. Now, because now is the only time that belongs to you. Now is the only time that can be used to build something strong. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to act. You just need to use what you have. You just need to focus on the part of your life that you can influence right now. Your habits, your thoughts, your behavior, your routine. These are the things you can fix. These are the things that create results. Everything else is noise. Everything else is a distraction. Everything else is a trap. It's easy to get lost in what you can't control. The world is full of problems. Life is full of uncertainty. People will disappoint you. Plans will fall apart. Things will go wrong. But none of that gives you a reason to give up your power. None of that gives you an excuse to stop trying. None of that means you should lower your standards. Because every time you decide to take responsibility for something you can fix, you're training your mind to stay grounded. You're building mental toughness. You're proving to yourself that you don't need ideal conditions to keep moving. You need to be relentless about this. You need to protect your focus like it's your life, because it is. The person you become is the result of what you focus on daily. If you focus on problems, you become overwhelmed. If you focus on excuses, you become stagnant. But if you focus on solutions, especially the small ones, you build momentum. You create evidence of progress. You become someone who solves instead of complains. Someone who acts instead of waits. Someone who builds instead of breaks. Most of your frustration comes from expecting things to change without doing the work. But things don't get better on their own. They get better when you take the time to fix what's broken, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's slow, even if it doesn't feel like much at first. You fix your thoughts, you fix your discipline, you fix your environment, you fix your actions. And over time those small changes compound. Over time they change how you think, how you live, how you see the world. If something's bothering you, ask yourself, what part of this can I control? What action can I take right now? Even if it's small. What habit can I improve? What attitude can I adjust? What distraction can I remove? That's how you regain clarity. That's how you stop feeling stuck. You don't need to fix everything. You just need to fix one thing, then another, and before you know it, your life begins to transform, not because everything around you changed, but because you changed how you responded to it. This mindset is rare. Most people are reactive. They complain, blame, and wait. They hope someone else will fix it. They wait for the circumstances to be ideal. And while they're waiting, they lose time. They lose energy. They lose direction. But you're not going to live like that. You're going to take your power back. You're going to use every day to become sharper, clearer, stronger. Not because life is easy, but because you choose to focus on what you can fix instead of what you can't. When you live like this, you start to see results. You start to feel progress. You start to build real belief in yourself. Not fake confidence, not hype, real earned belief. Because you're no longer waiting for the world to cooperate. You're no longer hoping someone else will come fix your situation. You're doing the work. You're making the changes. You're owning the moment. And that's what makes all the difference. Some days you'll be tired. Some days you'll feel off. Some days nothing will go as planned. But even then, you still have a choice. You can still find one thing to improve. You can still choose how you respond. You can still clean up your space, organize your thoughts, move your body, or execute your routine. These actions might seem small, but they keep your momentum alive. They remind you that you're in control of your energy, and they stop your mind from spiraling into useless thinking. This mindset becomes a discipline. The more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. You no longer get caught up in drama. You no longer get overwhelmed by things outside your reach. You become focused, clear, steady. You use each day to move forward, even if it's just a little. You stop wasting energy on things that can't be changed, and you start building things that last. There's power in simplicity. You don't need a complicated plan. You don't need to do everything. You just need to fix what you can fix right now. And if you do that every day, you'll get further than anyone who's waiting for perfect conditions. You'll rise above your excuses. You'll outlast your setbacks. You'll become consistent, no matter what's happening around you. That's the secret to building something real. Every time you shift your focus back to what you can do now, you're practicing mental strength. You're refusing to be a victim. You're choosing action over anxiety, clarity over chaos, direction over distraction. This is how you stay grounded in the storm. This is how you build a life you can be proud of. Not by fixing everything at once, but by fixing the part you can reach. It's not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about being honest with yourself about what you can do today, and then doing it with full commitment. Whether it's hard, boring, uncomfortable, or uncertain, you show up. You give effort. You hold yourself to a higher standard. Not for anyone else, for you. Because you know what you're capable of. You know what you're building. And you're not going to waste another day letting your energy get scattered. The only thing you need to do is fix what's in front of you. Keep your eyes on your lane. Keep your hands on the work. Keep your mind on your next step. Everything else is noise. Everything else is a distraction. You have a life to build. You have habits to strengthen. You have a future to protect. And it all starts with what you choose to do right now. Chapter 6. Train your mind to expect powerful outcomes daily. Most people wake up and expect nothing special to happen. They move through their day, assuming it'll be just another routine, filled with the same problems, the same distractions, the same frustrations. They don't realize that their expectations are quietly shaping their reality. Because if you train your mind to anticipate struggle, you find more struggle. If you constantly think about setbacks, you attract them into your path. Not because you're cursed or unlucky, but because your thoughts condition your focus, and your focus controls how you interpret everything that happens around you. What you expect consistently becomes what you prepare for, and what you prepare for influences the energy, the actions, and the mindset you bring to the day. When you expect weakness, you give a weak effort. When you anticipate failure, you subconsciously lower your standards to make the loss easier to justify. That's how people get stuck in cycles they can't escape. Not because they're not capable, but because their minds are trained to see limits, not possibilities. But you don't have to keep living like that. You can break out of that pattern by rewiring your mental approach. You can start expecting something more from your day on purpose. Training your mind to expect powerful outcomes is not about fantasy. It's not about lying to yourself or pretending life is easy. It's about anchoring your thoughts in purpose, in clarity, in self-belief. It's about looking at your goals and deciding that today is another opportunity to get closer, not just survive. Your brain is listening to you. The words you repeat, the beliefs you hold, the emotions you feel consistently, they all train your nervous system. So when you start each day with the belief that something meaningful is going to happen, you start making different choices. You walk with more intention. You speak with more clarity. You don't waste time on doubt. You don't tolerate negativity. You look for opportunities instead of excuses. If your mental habits are built on fear and limitation, then you'll always find reasons to hold back. But if you decide that every single day is a chance to step into something better, your whole energy shifts. You don't need a guarantee. You just need a direction. You just need a reason to move forward with strength instead of hesitation. That reason begins with what you expect from yourself, not what you hope will happen, what you expect to make happen. This requires discipline. You have to fight the urge to slip into old ways of thinking. You have to stop yourself from running on autopilot. You have to wake up and consciously remind yourself of your mission, your vision, your goals. You have to look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm not living small today. I'm not wasting time. I'm not settling. I'm showing up with energy and purpose because I'm building something real. That repetition builds new neural pathways. That repetition redefines how you see your role in the world. And once you start expecting better results, you begin to act like someone who deserves them. People who achieve powerful outcomes aren't luckier than you. They're not smarter, and they don't have easier lives. What they do have is a mind that's trained to look for strength, to pursue progress, to focus on execution. They've built a relationship with themselves that reinforces belief. They don't hope things go well, they expect to create progress because they know they've put in the work to make it happen. And when things go wrong, they don't spiral into self-pity. They adjust, adapt, and keep moving, because their mind is already trained for momentum. That's what you're building now. Your thoughts either fuel your discipline or weaken it. When you expect powerful outcomes, you treat yourself like a high performer. You don't let laziness run your day. You don't let fear drive your decisions. You develop the mindset of someone who executes under pressure, someone who shows up when it's hard, someone who refuses to fold. And the more you do this, the stronger your identity becomes. You don't just think like a winner. You start becoming one. Start with how you speak to yourself. Eliminate language that weakens your expectations. Stop saying "I hope" and start saying "I will." Replace "maybe" with "I'm working on it." Take "if" out of your vocabulary and replace it with "when." Speak with intention. Think with certainty. Move with confidence, not fake arrogance, but quiet inner belief that refuses to accept mediocrity. You'll notice that as you train your mind like this, you stop second-guessing yourself. You stop doubting your worth. You stop chasing approval. You start honoring your time, your energy, and your mission. There's something powerful about waking up and expecting something great to happen, not because of magic, but because you've decided to make it happen. It forces you to stay alert. It keeps you from going through the motions. It makes you intentional with your habits, your conversations, your schedule, and over time, those daily expectations turn into daily execution, and that execution creates results. And those results build more belief. That cycle builds momentum, and that momentum becomes your new identity. If you don't train your mind, it will default to fear. If you don't choose your thoughts, your past will choose them for you. But you're not here to be a prisoner to old stories. You're here to grow, to challenge yourself, to rise above average, and that requires mental work every day. You have to push back against hesitation. You have to ignore the urge to shrink. You have to prepare your mind like a professional prepares for competition, because life is the ultimate competition, and you don't win it by luck. You win it by expectation, backed by relentless action. Even when things aren't perfect, even when you feel off, even when progress is slow, you still expect something valuable from the day. Maybe it's a lesson, maybe it's growth, maybe it's resilience, but you never walk into a day expecting to just survive. You walk into every day with your eyes wide open, your spirit steady, your intentions clear, because that's the kind of mindset that elevates your behavior, your performance, and your outcomes. You can't fake this. You can't pretend to expect great things while secretly dreading the worst. You have to train yourself to feel it in your body, to see it in your imagination, to visualize outcomes so clearly that your mind starts to believe they're inevitable. That mental rehearsal becomes a blueprint, and your nervous system begins to respond with less fear, less stress, more poise, more drive. Start each day with clarity. Before the world tries to rush in with distractions, take a few minutes and set your expectation. This is not a motivational quote or a feel-good ritual. It's a mental command. You're telling your brain what to look for. You're telling your subconscious how to behave. You're declaring that today will not be wasted because you're going to use it. You're going to learn, grow, execute, and adapt. No matter what comes your way, you've already decided that you're in control. And when you mess up, you don't spiral. You reflect. You recalibrate. You get back on track without judgment. Because part of expecting powerful outcomes is trusting yourself to respond powerfully when things don't go as planned. You're not a robot. You're a resilient human being with a mind that's constantly learning how to perform better. So you use every mistake as feedback. You use every challenge as fuel. You don't fear failure. You use it. You don't dwell on setbacks. You build from them. This isn't about being overly optimistic or living in denial. It's about mental strategy. It's about preparing your internal world so that your external world doesn't shake you. Because when your expectations are built on intention, not emotion, you don't collapse when life hits hard. You adjust. You continue. You stay sharp. You keep aiming higher. Not because you have to, but because you expect that your next level is waiting for you to reach it. Stop letting doubt lead your life. Stop expecting average days and wondering why life feels dull. Decide that from this day forward, you're showing up with a mindset that expects movement, that expects power, that expects growth, even on the hard days, even on the quiet days, even when no one's watching. Because that's when real champions are built, in the silent moments, when no one's clapping, but you're still choosing to think, act, and live like someone who knows they're going somewhere great. This is the work. This is the discipline. Training your mind is not something you do once, it's something you do daily. With commitment and consistency, you make it your priority. You treat it like fuel. Because when your mind is locked in on powerful outcomes, your actions follow. Your energy shifts. Your pace increases. Your decisions get sharper. Your vision becomes real. And that's how you rise, not through luck, not through magic, not through waiting. You rise because you've conditioned your mind to refuse mediocrity. You rise because you've decided that every single day has value. You rise because you've trained your thinking to expect success, and now your behavior is built to match it. That's how greatness is built. One mental rep at a time, one focused day at a time, one powerful expectation at a time. Chapter 7. Interrupt every negative thought with strong action. Most people let their thoughts control their life. They listen to the voice that tells them they're not enough. They sit with doubt, worry, fear, and all the worst-case scenarios. And once that voice starts talking, they freeze. They pause. They hesitate. They replay their mistakes. And they overthink every move. What they don't realize is that every time they let that voice lead, they give it more control. And the more control it gains, the harder it becomes to act. That's the trap. You're not paralyzed by the situation. You're paralyzed by your thoughts about the situation. The mind creates a storm that never stops unless you break it with force. And the only force that shatters a storm of doubt is action. You can't think your way out of a negative spiral. You can't debate with your fears and hope they surrender. You can't wait until your thoughts become peaceful to finally start moving. You have to disrupt the mental cycle before it builds momentum. You interrupt that cycle by doing something that takes the power back. Action reclaims your focus. Action redirects your energy. Action gives you something tangible to do instead of spinning in your own head. Negative thoughts are not the problem. Believing them is. Giving them time to breathe is. Letting them shape your day is. But you don't have to let those thoughts finish. You can interrupt them mid-sentence. You can train yourself to recognize the patterns and immediately do something that changes your state. Whether that's getting up and moving, tackling a task, speaking out loud to shift your focus, or facing the exact thing you're avoiding. Every time you act when your brain wants you to hesitate, you're building a different identity. You're teaching yourself that doubt doesn't deserve control. This takes mental conditioning. You don't just wake up one day and stop overthinking. You have to get real with yourself. You have to catch your internal voice when it starts slipping into weakness. You have to call it out with action, not reaction, action. That means moving with intention even when your thoughts are loud. That means doing what you said you would even when your emotions are shaky. You have to break the rhythm of self-sabotage by creating a new rhythm of progress. People spend too much time waiting for clarity. They want perfect conditions, they want certainty, they want motivation. But you don't need any of that. You just need to act. Clarity comes after the movement. Strength grows through the challenge. You don't wake up confident. You build confidence every time you act in the face of doubt. That's how you rewire your entire mental framework. You stop trying to fight your thoughts with thoughts, and you start replacing them with action. Every time you feel stuck, you're not really stuck, you're uncommitted. You're overthinking, stalling, making excuses, feeding the wrong narrative. And you have to snap yourself out of it. Nobody's coming to do it for you. No one's going to interrupt your negative spiral. You have to do it. You have to take ownership of your emotional momentum and shift it with discipline. And the most powerful way to shift it is to get busy, get moving, get focused on a task that requires your energy. Redirect your brain away from helplessness and into productivity. That's how you break patterns. That's how you stay in control. Action is clarity. Action is therapy. Action is momentum. And the more you act in the face of resistance, the more natural it becomes. You won't always want to. You won't always feel ready. But if you train yourself to move anyway, you'll build the inner muscle that most people never develop. You'll start seeing yourself differently. You'll stop seeing yourself as someone who gets stuck and start seeing yourself as someone who responds powerfully. That shift changes everything. Most negative thoughts are just noise. They sound convincing, but they have no weight unless you feed them. You don't owe them your time. You don't have to listen to them just because they're loud. The brain throws out all kinds of nonsense. Your job is to decide what gets your energy. You don't need to fix the thought. You just need to disrupt it with a decision. And that decision should always point you toward movement. When you wake up and your mind tries to tell you that you're not ready, you act anyway. When you feel overwhelmed and the voice in your head says, "What's the point?" you remind yourself that progress is the point. You take one step and then another. When your emotions tell you to hide, to scroll, to procrastinate, you shut it down by doing something useful. You don't let that emotion win. You overpower it with behavior. Every time you take strong action while your mind is weak, you're proving to yourself that you're stronger than your thoughts. That's not motivation. That's training. That's self-leadership. And it's built one small win at a time. You don't need a massive breakthrough. You need one move in the right direction. Then another. Then another. That momentum compounds. That pattern becomes automatic. And the next time the negativity shows up, it doesn't feel as powerful because you know exactly what to do with it. You've got to stop waiting to feel better before you do better. That's the biggest trap. That's what keeps people stuck for years. They wait for peace, they wait for confidence, they wait for permission. Meanwhile, the world keeps moving. Life doesn't wait for your doubt to fade. It rewards the ones who move anyway. It gives opportunities to the ones who step up even when they feel unprepared. That's your edge. Not perfection, not being fearless. Your edge is your ability to move while your brain begs you to sit still. There's something liberating about refusing to entertain weak thoughts. You see them come in, and instead of reacting, you do something different. You build, you train, you create, you push, you replace helplessness with action. You replace fear with execution. And that shift becomes your new identity. Not someone who avoids challenges, but someone who tackles them. Not someone who spirals, but someone who recalibrates. Not someone who talks themselves out of greatness, but someone who earns it daily. This discipline isn't flashy. It won't get applause. No one will see it. But it's the most powerful skill you can build. Because once you can control your inner narrative with action, you're unstoppable. Nothing can hold you back for long. Not self-doubt, not criticism, not delay, not distraction. Because your foundation isn't built on how you feel. It's built on what you do. And that's the only thing you control. You don't need to fix every problem in your life today. You just need to stop feeding the voice that says you can't. You need to shut down the loop of what if I fail, with watch me try. You need to stop asking for permission to be strong. You already are. You just have to prove it to yourself again and again by acting in the face of hesitation. Every minute you spend overthinking is a minute you could have spent building something. And that should bother you. That should wake you up. Because your time is valuable. Your energy is limited. And the more you spend it stuck in your head, the less you give yourself a chance to grow. Action gives you that chance. Not perfect action. Not glamorous action. Just something. Start the task. Make the call. Lift the weight. Clean the room. Plan the move. Speak the truth. Act like someone who's not interested in living in doubt anymore. Eventually your brain gets the message. When you keep acting in the face of fear, you stop fearing the thought. You stop believing every emotion. You stop clinging to mental loops that serve no purpose. You become too busy building to entertain self-pity. You develop a different kind of strength, the quiet kind. The kind that doesn't scream but shows up every day, no matter how you feel. The kind that pushes when it's tired. The kind that stays sharp when it's tempted to slack. That strength is earned, and it's yours if you want it. The next time you hear that voice in your head telling you that you're not good enough, don't respond with another thought. Respond with a rep. Respond with effort. Respond with execution. Let your behavior speak louder than your fears. Because when you move in the face of doubt, you break the pattern. And once that pattern is broken, you reclaim control. This is the game. This is the practice. This is the edge that separates those who stay stuck from those who rise. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's the discipline to act while your brain is still unsure. And the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. You don't need to believe in yourself perfectly. You just need to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel ready. This is your time. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Right now. Interrupt the spiral. Interrupt the fear. Interrupt the excuses. Replace it with motion, with strength, with fire. You are not the sum of your thoughts. You are the result of your actions. Act like it. Live like it. Build from it. That's how you take back your power. And that's how you keep it.
Chapter 8. Surround yourself with people who lift your mindset. You're not just building a life. You're building a mind.
And the people you choose to keep around you will either help that mind grow or slowly poison it with doubt, laziness, or fear. Who you talk to, who you listen to, who you give your time to, this is not a casual decision. It's one of the most important decisions you'll ever make. You become like the voices you allow near your thoughts. You start thinking like them, acting like them, living like them. And if those people live without ambition, without urgency, without discipline, they will slowly drain that out of you too. You don't need a crowd. You need a core. A few people who make you sharper, clearer, stronger. People who see your strength when you forget it. People who don't let you make excuses. People who show up with solutions, not problems. They're not here to comfort your laziness. They're here to remind you of your power. If you're serious about growth, you need to be ruthless about who you let close. Because energy is contagious. And if you stay around energy that's negative, fearful, or small, you will unconsciously adopt it. That's not weakness. That's biology. That's how humans adapt. And it's exactly why you have to choose your circle with intention. People either feed your vision or distract you from it. They either reinforce your discipline or subtly chip away at it. Most people don't even realize how much they're being shaped by their environment until they step away from it. Until they experience what it's like to be surrounded by people who challenge them to grow, who speak possibility instead of limitation, who act with urgency instead of delay. When you feel that contrast, you understand what you've been missing. And once you've experienced that level of support, you'll never settle for less again. It's not about being surrounded by perfect people. It's about being surrounded by people who are progressing, who are evolving, who are hungry for growth and unwilling to stay stuck. That kind of energy sharpens you. It reminds you who you are and where you're going. It keeps you honest. Because when you're around people who are chasing their highest standard, you don't want to fall behind. You don't want to be the one complaining, procrastinating, making excuses. You want to rise too. That's what the right circle does. It makes you better without trying to control you. It holds you to a higher level without criticizing your failures. That's rare, but it's real. You have to audit your circle with brutal honesty, not with guilt, not with nostalgia, with clarity. Ask yourself, do these people energize me or drain me? Do they help me think bigger, or do they pull me into comfort and distraction? Are they growing, or are they stuck in loops that I've already outgrown? You don't owe anyone permanent access to your energy, especially if that access comes at the cost of your mental clarity, especially if it keeps you stuck in habits you've been trying to escape. It's okay to outgrow people. It's okay to walk away from environments that no longer reflect your values. That's not disloyalty. That's evolution. You're not abandoning people. You're choosing yourself. You're choosing to prioritize your mission, your health, your peace of mind. And when you operate from that place, you attract people who are aligned with that standard. People who understand boundaries. People who respect your discipline. People who speak from strength, not victimhood. Sometimes the most important step in your growth is creating space for better energy. You can't do that if your life is crowded with noise. Some people need less access to your time. Some conversations need to stop. Some relationships need to fade naturally, without resentment. You don't need to explain everything. You don't need to argue. You just need to act in alignment with the life you're building. The people who are meant for your next chapter won't be offended by your growth. They'll support it. They'll mirror it. You'll know you're around the right people when your ideas feel supported instead of judged, when your ambition feels normal instead of intimidating, when discipline is respected, not mocked, when accountability is offered, not avoided. That's when you know you're in the right space. That's when you stop feeling like you're too much, or too serious, or too driven. You're not too much. You've just been around people who are too small for your vision. You've been surrounded by mindsets that can't stretch to where you're going. And that's why you've felt conflicted. That's why it's been hard to stay focused. But once you shift your environment, everything changes. You stop wasting energy on trying to explain yourself. You stop second-guessing your instincts. You stop dulling your fire to fit in. Instead, you start growing faster. You start thinking clearer. You start becoming more of who you're supposed to be. Because the people around you don't just shape your habits, they shape your identity. They either validate the strongest version of you, or they enable the weakest. There's no in-between. You have to be intentional. You have to protect your space like your life depends on it, because it does. Your future, your peace, your power. It all depends on who you give your energy to. If you're constantly explaining your goals to people who don't believe in goals, you're wasting your breath. If you're always trying to motivate people who resist responsibility, you're draining yourself. Save that energy. Pour it into people who want to grow. Surround yourself with people who make you feel like greatness is normal. You don't rise by accident. You rise by design. And your design starts with the voices around you. You need friends who call out your strength when you forget it. You need people who don't let you slack when they know you're capable of more. You need people who celebrate your wins and challenge your weaknesses. Not from ego, from love, from a place of mutual growth. That's what a strong circle looks like. It's built on truth. It's built on effort. It's built on shared values. Don't settle for people who only show up when it's easy. Watch how people act when you start changing. Do they support your growth or resist it? Do they elevate your energy or complain when you raise your standards? That's when you'll see who's really in your corner. That's when you learn who's meant to walk with you and who's meant to be left behind. Let them go without guilt. Not everyone can handle your evolution. That's okay. Let them live at their level while you build at yours. And don't just look for people who agree with you. Look for people who stretch you. People who challenge you to refine your thinking. People who ask real questions, not surface ones. People who want to build, not just talk. People who take action, not just make plans. That's who you want around you. Not cheerleaders, builders. Not yes men, truth tellers. They'll keep you sharp. They'll hold you accountable. They'll grow with you. You don't need everyone to understand your journey. You just need a few who believe in it. That's enough. That's powerful. That's the difference between staying average and becoming unstoppable. And the moment you commit to this standard, you'll notice a shift in your life. The wrong people will naturally fade. The right ones will be drawn in. Your energy will attract what it reflects. And when you operate with that kind of clarity, you stop chasing people. You stop explaining yourself. You just live your truth and let your circle evolve accordingly. This is how you protect your mindset. This is how you stay focused when the world is full of noise. You curate your environment like your life depends on it, because your inner peace does. Your growth does. Your dreams do. And when you prioritize the energy you allow in your space, you give yourself the freedom to rise without resistance. That's not selfish. That's necessary. You've got a mission. You've got goals. You've got standards. Don't let anyone talk you out of that. Don't let anyone guilt you into shrinking. Don't let small minds dictate your vision. Protect it, build around it, and keep showing up like someone who knows exactly where they're going. Because the right people will see that. And they'll walk with you. They'll grow beside you. And together, you'll all rise.
Chapter 9. Create a routine that builds mental discipline fast. To create a mental discipline that is unstoppable, it begins with routine. It's not about quick fixes or hoping things magically get better. It's about building consistency, putting in the work, showing up, and conditioning your mind every single day. What you do today sets the tone for tomorrow, and what you do tomorrow shapes the future. When you commit to a structured routine, you are not just ticking boxes, you are creating a framework for your mind that allows you to push through discomfort, rise above distractions, and stay focused on your mission. A routine provides the foundation upon which mental strength is built. It creates momentum that moves you forward even when you don't feel like it, and it transforms your habits into automatic actions. Over time, this momentum builds a level of discipline that cannot be broken. But to get there, it's all about consistency, intention, and the willingness to push past your comfort zones every day. The most successful individuals in any field don't rely on raw talent. They rely on the daily rituals they've established in their lives. These routines may seem small on the surface, but they are the seeds of extraordinary results. When you master the ability to stay consistent with your actions, your discipline becomes part of who you are. It's no longer something you have to force, it becomes automatic. The key to creating a routine that builds mental discipline fast is to start simple and build from there. Don't overwhelm yourself with unrealistic expectations. Start small, focus on one area of growth, and stick with it. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. And in order to progress, you need a structure to lean on. Begin each day by waking up at the same time. It doesn't matter if it's 5 a.m. or 7 a.m., as long as it's consistent. The act of rising at the same time each day trains your body and mind to operate within a set framework. You teach yourself to be disciplined by showing up to life at the same time every morning. Your mind learns to trust the routine, and this trust strengthens your mental discipline. The next step is what you do when you first wake up. Avoid checking your phone or getting distracted by outside influences. Instead, take time to center yourself. Spend a few minutes in silence, breathe deeply, visualize your goals. Set an intention for the day. This is a critical part of the routine because it helps you establish clarity before the world starts demanding your attention. This brief time of introspection serves as a mental warm-up. It's like stretching before a workout. You need to prepare your mind for the tasks ahead. From here, structure the next portion of your day around physical activity. Exercise isn't just for your body, it's for your mind. Physical exercise releases endorphins that boost your mood, improve your focus, and provide the energy you need to attack the day. It doesn't need to be a strenuous workout every single day. Sometimes a brisk walk or stretching routine is all you need to get your blood flowing. But make sure you move. The act of moving your body teaches your mind that it's capable of more than it thinks. It proves to yourself that you can overcome resistance, both physical and mental. Once you've set your body in motion, it's time to tackle your mental tasks. This is where discipline truly kicks in. Whether it's reading, writing, working on a project, or meditating, have a dedicated block of time each day where you focus solely on your mental growth. This is where mental toughness is cultivated. If you're training yourself to focus on one task at a time, to immerse yourself fully in the present moment,
You are training your brain to operate at the highest level. The ability to focus without distraction is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. It's not something that happens overnight, but it becomes easier when you incorporate it into your routine. Equally important is the ability to prioritize and eliminate distractions. As part of your routine, develop a habit of eliminating non-essentials. This doesn't mean ignoring responsibilities or shirking tasks. It means saying no to things that don't align with your mission. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve your purpose, you're saying no to the things that will help you grow. Creating a routine where you are laser-focused on your goals requires the ability to say no. Prioritization isn't just about choosing what's most important, it's also about removing what's least important. The next pillar of your routine is rest. It may sound counterintuitive, but rest is just as important for building discipline as hard work. Without proper sleep and recovery, your mind and body will burn out. It's essential to build rest into your routine just as you would exercise or work. Prioritize sleep and give yourself time to recharge. Your mental strength can only grow when your body is fully rested and ready to take on the next day's challenges. Throughout the day, make time for reflection. Take a moment after you complete a task to assess how you did. Did you stay focused? Did you remain disciplined? Were there moments where you could have pushed harder? Reflection is key to improvement. Without it, you will stay stuck in patterns that don't serve you. When you reflect, you become aware of your weaknesses, and you can work on them. Another aspect of a disciplined routine is the ability to adapt. Life is unpredictable. There will be days when things don't go as planned. You'll face setbacks. But a disciplined person doesn't quit when obstacles arise. They adjust and continue. Being flexible within your routine allows you to overcome challenges without losing momentum. A rigid routine that doesn't allow for flexibility will break when life presents its curveballs. But a flexible routine, rooted in discipline, will keep you moving forward despite any setbacks. As you continue to implement your routine, you'll notice a shift in your mindset. Initially, the routine may feel forced. It might feel like a struggle to stay consistent, but over time, it will become second nature. Your mind will begin to crave the structure and discipline. It will feel odd when you don't have a routine to follow. You'll start noticing the small wins, how much more productive you are, how much more energy you have, how much clearer your thoughts are. The magic happens when discipline becomes automatic. You don't have to remind yourself to be disciplined because it's now a part of your identity. You don't have to force yourself to get up and work because it's simply what you do. Your routine has become the foundation upon which your mental toughness is built. But the beauty of mental discipline is that it's a snowball effect. The more disciplined you become in one area of your life, the more it spills over into other areas. As you develop a routine for your physical health, you'll start creating more discipline in your financial health, relationships, and personal development. Every habit you cultivate reinforces the others, and soon you're living a life that's been shaped by the discipline you've created. You've reprogrammed your mind to perform at a higher level, and the results speak for themselves. In the beginning, it might seem like a challenge. You might question whether it's worth it. But as you get deeper into the process, you'll realize that the results are far more powerful than you ever imagined. Mental discipline is the key to success. It's the key to overcoming obstacles, staying consistent, and unlocking your true potential. And when you have that discipline, everything becomes easier. Start today. Set your routine, make it simple, but make it consistent, and then watch as your mind transforms into a tool that works for you, not against you. Once you develop the discipline to stick with your routine,
You'll see the kind of results that come from mastering the art of consistency. You'll see the growth, the success, and the transformation you've been working toward.
Chapter 10. Challenge your fears by facing them head-on. Fears are something that we all encounter. They are a natural part of being human. But they are also the barriers that keep us from achieving what we are capable of. They stop us from pursuing the life we truly want and prevent us from becoming the best version of ourselves. We all have something we're afraid of, but if we allow those fears to control us, they become our prison. The key to breaking free from fear is not to avoid it, but to face it head-on. When you challenge your fears, you take away their power. Fear thrives in uncertainty. It grows stronger the more we avoid it, and the longer we leave it unchallenged, the more it spreads into every area of our lives. But when we look it in the eye, when we step into it with full intention, we realize that fear is not nearly as powerful as it seems. It's a creation of our mind, built up over time by experiences, stories, and beliefs that we've accepted as truths. But these truths are not real. They are just stories we tell ourselves. The first step in challenging your fears is to acknowledge them. Name them. Identify what you're really afraid of. It could be fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of judgment, or even fear of success. Many times, we don't even realize what we're afraid of because we push it into the background of our minds. We try to avoid it, rationalize it, or justify it, but we never actually confront it. So start by asking yourself, what am I truly afraid of right now? Once you bring that fear into the light, it begins to lose its grip on you. It's no longer an abstract force lurking in the shadows, but something that can be understood and controlled. Fear often comes from a place of insecurity. We fear the unknown because it challenges our sense of control. The unknown is uncomfortable because it presents possibilities that we cannot predict or control. But life itself is full of uncertainty. No matter how much we try to plan and prepare, there is always an element of the unknown. When you learn to embrace the unknown, you also learn to embrace fear. You stop seeing it as a threat and start seeing it as an opportunity to grow, to push beyond your limits, and to expand your possibilities. Once you've identified your fears, the next step is to take action. It's easy to talk about overcoming fear, but the real work begins when you step forward in the direction of your fear. The only way to dismantle it is by confronting it head-on. This may sound counterintuitive, because fear often makes us want to avoid or retreat, but avoidance only feeds the fear. Every time you step away from something that frightens you, you allow the fear to grow. But every time you face it directly, you weaken its power. It doesn't have to be a massive leap right away. You don't have to run into the deepest part of your fear immediately. Start small, but start now. If you fear public speaking, for instance, don't wait until you're asked to speak in front of thousands of people. Begin with small steps. Speak up in a meeting, share your thoughts with a friend, or record yourself speaking and listen back. Each small step chips away at the fear and helps you build the courage to take bigger steps over time. When you begin to take action in the face of fear, you will quickly realize that the fear you've built up in your mind isn't as powerful as you thought. The reality of facing your fears is often much less intimidating than the thoughts we have about them. When you finally do the thing you've been afraid of, you'll find that it's not as bad as your mind had imagined. In fact, it often turns out to be a transformative experience that boosts your confidence and strengthens your resolve. But it's not just about overcoming one fear and moving on. Challenging your fears is a daily practice, an ongoing process. Each time you face your fears, you become stronger. You learn to trust yourself more, to believe in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. The more you confront your fears, the less power they have over you. They become smaller and smaller until they no longer hold any significant place in your life. And here's the thing about fear: it's not a one-time battle. Just because you face one fear doesn't mean you're free from all fears. New ones will emerge, and old ones may resurface. But you now have the tools to deal with them. The confidence and courage you've built by facing your fears head-on will become a part of you, and you'll begin to notice a shift in how you approach challenges. You'll stop being paralyzed by fear and instead see it as an opportunity to grow. Over time, you'll realize that fear isn't something to be avoided or resisted. It's a signal that you are pushing beyond your comfort zone. It's a sign that you are stretching your limits, and that is where growth happens. Every time you step into fear, you expand the boundaries of your potential. You open the door to new possibilities. It's like training for a marathon. You don't start by running 20 miles, but each step brings you closer to your goal. When you're faced with fear, ask yourself, what will happen if I face this? What will I gain by stepping into this fear, rather than retreating from it? Often, the answer is that you'll gain strength, confidence, and a greater understanding of yourself. You'll realize that you are capable of handling more than you ever thought possible. Another key to overcoming fear is reframing your thoughts. Fear thrives on negative thinking. It tells you that you're not good enough, that you'll fail, that things won't work out. But these thoughts are just projections of your mind. They are not facts. Reframe your fear by asking yourself, what is the worst that could happen, and what is the best that could happen? You'll often find that the worst-case scenario is not nearly as bad as your mind has made it out to be, and the best-case scenario is more than worth the risk. The power of confronting your fears is immense. It's one of the most liberating experiences you can have. When you face your fears, you take control of your life. You stop letting them dictate your actions, and instead decide to act despite them. You become the person who doesn't back down from challenges but embraces them. This is the essence of personal growth and resilience. The more you face your fears, the more you develop the mental toughness needed to handle whatever life throws at you. Fear will always be there. It's part of being human. But how you respond to it determines the course of your life. You can choose to let fear control you, or you can choose to face it head-on and take action. Every time you do, you become more powerful, more resilient, and more capable of achieving your goals. So don't run from your fears. Don't hide from them. Challenge them. Face them. You'll find that when you do, the fear loses its hold on you, and you gain a new level of strength and confidence that will propel you toward the life you were meant to live.
Chapter 11. Track every small win to build daily momentum. The journey to achieving something great is often long and filled with challenges. We set big goals for ourselves, and sometimes it can feel overwhelming when we focus solely on the destination. But one of the most powerful tools we can use to stay on track and make meaningful progress is the act of tracking every small win along the way. These small wins are the fuel that keeps our momentum going and builds the foundation for long-term success. When we think about progress, we often envision major accomplishments. We focus on the big moments, the promotions, the completed projects, the major breakthroughs. And while these events are important, they can sometimes make us overlook the value of the small steps we take daily. The small wins are often the most significant because they are the daily actions that accumulate and compound over time. Each small victory is a reminder that we are making progress, that we are moving forward, and that the effort we are putting in is worth it. Tracking these small wins creates a sense of accomplishment. even on the days when we don't feel like we're making much headway. It's easy to become discouraged when we only focus on the end goal and forget to acknowledge the progress we've already made. But when we track our wins, no matter how small, they become visible markers of success, and this visibility motivates us to keep going. At first, tracking small wins might feel insignificant. You might think, how does writing one page of my book or exercising for 10 minutes today really matter in the grand scheme of things? But that small page or that 10 minutes of exercise is an important step in the right direction. Over time, these actions build upon each other, and the momentum they create is unstoppable. One small win leads to the next, and before you know it, you've made tremendous progress. The act of tracking these wins forces us to be intentional about our actions. It makes us take notice of the positive steps we're taking, which might otherwise go unnoticed in the rush of daily life. And when we take the time to reflect on our wins, we start to see the bigger picture. We realize that each day is filled with opportunities to make progress, and that even on the toughest days, there's always something to celebrate. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in personal development. When we have momentum on our side, we move faster, more confidently, and with greater ease. But momentum doesn't happen by accident. It's something we create, and the best way to create momentum is by celebrating the small wins. Each win, no matter how small, adds a layer of momentum, and the more momentum we have, the easier it becomes to keep moving forward. Small wins are also crucial for building self-confidence. When we don't acknowledge our progress, we can fall into the trap of thinking that we're not getting anywhere. But when we take the time to recognize even the smallest victories, we begin to build a sense of self-belief. We start to trust ourselves more because we can see that we are capable of taking action and making progress. And as our confidence grows, so does our ability to tackle bigger challenges. Tracking small wins also helps us stay consistent. Consistency is the key to achieving anything meaningful. But consistency isn't always easy, especially when progress feels slow or when we're faced with setbacks. However, when we track our wins, we get a clear picture of our efforts, and this clarity reinforces the importance of staying consistent. We begin to see that each day's effort, no matter how small, is an important part of the overall journey. And this realization keeps us going, even when we're tempted to give up. One of the most important aspects of tracking small wins is that it trains our minds to focus on the positive. In a world that often emphasizes what we haven't achieved yet, it's easy to fall into a negative mindset. But when we consciously track our wins, we shift our focus to what we have accomplished. We start to see that we are making progress, that we are capable, and that we are moving in the right direction. This shift in mindset is crucial for long-term success because it keeps us motivated, even when the going gets tough. There are many different ways to track small wins, and it's important to find a method that works for you. Some people prefer to keep a journal where they write down their wins at the end of each day. Others use apps or digital tools to track their progress. The key is to make it a habit so that you are consistently acknowledging your wins and reinforcing your progress. Over time, you'll begin to see just how much you've accomplished, and this awareness will help you stay focused and motivated. But tracking small wins is not just about celebrating successes, it's also about learning from the challenges and setbacks along the way. Every win, big or small, teaches us something. Even on the days when we don't feel like we've accomplished much, there's always something we can learn. By reflecting on both our wins and our struggles, we develop a deeper understanding of ourselves and our journey. And this self-awareness is a crucial part of personal growth. When we track our wins, we also start to develop a sense of gratitude. We become more aware of the progress we've made and the opportunities we've had. Gratitude is a powerful motivator because it shifts our focus from what we don't have to what we do have. It helps us see that even in the midst of challenges, there is always something to be thankful for. And this sense of gratitude propels us forward, making the journey feel more rewarding and meaningful. Ultimately, tracking small wins is a practice that helps us stay grounded in the present moment. It's easy to get caught up in the future and focus on what we still need to do. But when we take the time to track our wins, we remind ourselves that progress is happening right now. We don't have to wait for the big breakthroughs or the grand accomplishments to feel successful. Success is happening every day, in every small step we take. And by acknowledging that, we create a mindset that is focused on progress, not perfection. As you continue to track your small wins, you'll begin to notice that your mindset starts to shift. You'll feel more confident, more focused, and more energized. You'll realize that you are capable of achieving your goals, one small win at a time. And as you continue to build that momentum, you'll find that the journey becomes less overwhelming and more exciting. Every small win is a reminder that you are moving closer to the person you want to become, and that is a powerful motivator to keep going. So track your wins, celebrate your progress, and remember that the path to greatness is built on the foundation of small, consistent victories. It's the accumulation of these wins that will carry you toward your ultimate goals. Don't wait for the big moments to celebrate. Every day is an opportunity to acknowledge your growth and keep the momentum going. The more you focus on your small wins, the faster you'll reach your destination and the more fulfilling the journey will be. Chapter 12. Practice silence to reset your mind with clarity. Silence is a discipline, not just the absence of noise. In a world that constantly demands your attention, learning to practice silence isn't about removing yourself from life. It's about regaining control over your own mental state. It's about stepping away from the noise that clouds your judgment, scatters your thoughts, and drowns out your inner wisdom. Most people don't even realize how addicted they are to noise until they deliberately choose to step away from it. But once you do, something shifts. You begin to feel your mind clearing. You begin to notice your thoughts instead of being swept away by them. You start to understand what it really means to be present. Silence resets your nervous system. It grounds you when you intentionally remove distractions and allow yourself to sit in complete stillness. Your breathing deepens, your heartbeat slows, and your awareness sharpens. Your mind, which was racing just a few moments ago, begins to slow down. Thoughts stop chasing each other. This is the space where clarity is born. Not when you're reacting to messages, notifications, or obligations, but when everything becomes still. The noise from outside goes silent, and what remains is your true self, calm, conscious, and focused. People often confuse silence with passivity, but silence is active. It takes real strength to resist the pull of distractions. It takes discipline to step away from the constant stream of information and to sit with your own thoughts without judgment. When you practice silence, you confront your internal chaos, and that confrontation is the beginning of self-mastery. You don't need to escape your life or run to the mountains. You need 5, 10, or 15 minutes of intentional silence each day to strengthen your mental clarity. It's not about doing less. It's about doing what matters from a place of inner strength. When you practice silence consistently, your decisions improve. Your reactions become more measured. Instead of reacting impulsively, you begin to observe. Instead of panicking, you pause. Instead of drowning in your emotions, you notice them without becoming them.
Silence gives you the ability to zoom out. You see your habits, your behavior, your triggers with greater objectivity. It's no longer about trying to control everything. It's about understanding yourself enough to respond with intelligence. So many people wake up and immediately reach for their phone. Before they've even had a moment to think, they've been thrown into the expectations, demands and opinions of the world. They've surrendered their attention without even realizing it. But imagine starting your day in silence. Imagine waking up and spending 10 minutes with no input, no music, no scrolling, no talking, just breathing, just observing, just being. Those few minutes can shape the tone of your entire day. You become centered. You don't need motivation from the outside. You've tapped into something deeper. Silence sharpens awareness. When your mind isn't bombarded with noise, you begin to notice things you overlooked before. You see how much time you waste on mental chatter. You notice how often you spiral into negativity. But you also start to recognize your own strength. You realize that you don't have to entertain every thought. You're not your anxiety. You're not your past. You're not your doubts. You're the one observing all of it. And from that awareness, clarity is born. You begin to clean up your thinking. You begin to redirect your focus. You start taking back control. In silence, there's no one to impress. There's no story to uphold. There's no mask to wear. You get to strip away the noise of the world and return to your raw, unfiltered self. And sometimes that's uncomfortable. You might sit in silence and feel emotions you've buried. Memories may surface. Old thoughts may rise. But that discomfort is not a problem. It's the beginning of healing. Silence doesn't remove your pain, but it gives you the space to understand it. And that understanding is the first step toward inner strength. Mental clarity doesn't come from overthinking. It comes from space. Space between your thoughts. Space to breathe. Space to feel. If you're constantly reacting, you don't leave any space for clarity. You jump from one emotion to the next, one distraction to the next. But in silence, you create that space intentionally. You give your mind room to settle. And once it settles, you can see things for what they are. Not what your fear tells you, not what your doubt whispers, but what actually is. You don't need to wait for a crisis to create stillness. Make it a habit now. Practice silence when things are calm so you're prepared when life becomes chaotic. Use silence as a training ground. It builds your patience. It deepens your focus. It strengthens your presence. And all of those qualities spill into every part of your life. Your work, your relationships, your goals. When you're grounded in silence, you stop chasing validation. You don't need to prove anything. You're not desperate for attention. You're steady. And that steadiness is rare and powerful. Some of your greatest insights won't come from books or advice or lectures. They will come in the quiet moments when you're alone with yourself, when everything external is turned off and your inner wisdom begins to speak. But that voice is quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. You have to create the stillness to hear it. And once you do, you'll never see yourself the same way again. You'll realize how powerful your mind is when it's clear. You'll understand how much energy you were wasting before, and that awareness alone can change your life. Silence isn't just for moments of peace. It's a tool for moments of decision. When you're unsure, sit in silence. When you're overwhelmed, return to silence. When your emotions are loud, go silent. It's not about escaping life. It's about approaching life from a place of clarity. You'll never regret taking a few minutes to reset, but you will regret making decisions from a mind filled with confusion.
Silence doesn't solve all problems, but it prepares you to solve them better. People will often fill their lives with noise because they're afraid of what silence will reveal. But silence doesn't expose you to anything that wasn't already there. It just makes it visible. It brings your patterns to light. It shows you where your thoughts drift when you're not distracted. And once you see it, you can change it. You can reshape your mindset. You can reprogram how you respond to life. But you can't do that unless you slow down and observe. Don't underestimate the power of just sitting still and breathing. The most grounded people aren't those who talk the most. They're the ones who've learned how to listen, not just to others but to themselves, to their intuition, to their higher self. And that level of listening only happens in silence. You don't need to meditate for hours. Start with 5 minutes. Sit down, close your eyes, breathe, observe, let your mind race, but don't chase the thoughts. Just watch them. Over time your mind will settle, your breathing will slow, and you'll find yourself in a space of quiet awareness. This practice is not about escaping responsibility. It's about increasing your effectiveness. When your mind is clear, your focus improves. Your productivity increases. Your creativity flows. You stop wasting time on things that don't matter. You stop reacting impulsively. You begin to act with intention. Every decision, every response becomes sharper, because it comes from a place of clarity, not confusion. Silence is the reset button most people forget they have. You don't need a vacation. You don't need more stimulation. You need silence. You need time to let your nervous system recover from the constant input. And when you give yourself that gift, you'll feel more alive. You'll feel more in control. You'll stop living in reaction mode and start living from a place of deliberate intention. You won't always have the luxury to step away from everything. But silence isn't about isolation. It's about inner quiet. You can be silent in a crowded room. You can find stillness in the middle of chaos. It starts inside. Once you cultivate that internal silence, the external noise loses its power over you. You become unshakable. You become focused, and from that focus you create a better life. So take silence seriously. Treat it as sacred. Make it part of your routine. Don't wait for a crisis to remember how powerful it is. Start today. Sit in silence. Let your thoughts rise and fall. Breathe deeply. Feel your body. Observe your mind. The more you do this, the more clarity you'll gain. And that clarity will guide you to make better choices, think more clearly, and live with a deeper sense of purpose.
Chapter 13. Visualize success before taking your first step. Before you move, picture where you're going. Before you act, see the outcome you're aiming to reach. That's the essence of visualization, training your mind to align with your goals before your body begins the work. The strongest people don't just act blindly. They start by imagining the results so vividly that it becomes part of their reality. They build the picture in their mind so clearly that every decision, every action, and every step flows with more certainty. Visualization isn't just wishful thinking. It's the process of mentally rehearsing success so you reduce hesitation, doubt, and confusion when the moment to act arrives. Most people get stuck before they begin. They think about all the ways something could go wrong, all the setbacks they might face, all the problems they could encounter. That mindset kills momentum before it starts. But when you visualize success, you give your mind a different story. You replace fear with focus. You replace self-doubt with clarity. You give yourself a target that feels real. And when something feels real, you're far more likely to chase it with intention. Your brain doesn't fully distinguish between imagination and reality. That's why fear feels so real, even when nothing is happening. But you can use that same principle in your favor. You can turn your vision into a form of mental preparation. Picture yourself doing the hard work. See yourself sticking to the plan. Imagine yourself overcoming resistance. Visualize your strength showing up in the moments when quitting looks easier. If you do this every day, you build a kind of inner certainty. You train your body and mind to move as one. And when you finally do take action, you're not operating from a blank slate. You're operating from an internal blueprint. There's a reason high performers across every discipline use visualization. Whether it's athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, or soldiers, those who achieve mastery see the outcome before they reach it. They walk through the process mentally. They feel the emotions. They see the result. And because they've already lived it once in their mind, they carry more confidence into the actual experience. It's not magic, it's mental conditioning. You're priming your mind to expect success, so when adversity shows up, it doesn't shake you. You're anchored. You're grounded in a vision you already trust. You don't need perfect circumstances to start visualizing. You don't need to be an expert. You just need quiet time, a focused mind, and a clear outcome. Close your eyes and walk through the moment in detail. Where are you? What do you see? How does it feel? What kind of energy do you have? How are you handling challenges? The more detail you include, the more powerful the effect. You're not daydreaming. You're conditioning your response. You're preparing your mind to meet the challenge before it even arrives. Visualization builds self-belief. The more you see yourself succeeding, the more natural it becomes to act in alignment with that image. You stop questioning whether you're capable. You stop holding back. You stop giving half effort. You move with conviction because you've already rehearsed the outcome in your mind. That clarity strips away hesitation. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You create it. There will be times when things don't go according to plan. There will be setbacks, failures, and missteps. But if you've been visualizing success, you'll respond differently. You won't crumble. You won't retreat. You'll adjust. You'll reframe. You'll return to the vision that's been burning in your mind, and you'll find another way forward. That's the power of visualizing the end result. It gives you a reference point when reality feels uncertain. Use visualization to reconnect with your purpose. When motivation fades, your vision remains. When you're tired, that mental image can refuel you. When you feel lost, it reminds you of why you started. It's more than a mental trick. It's a source of emotional energy. It keeps you aligned when distractions try to pull you off course. It keeps you grounded when pressure builds. And it reminds you of the bigger picture when temporary discomfort tries to blur your perspective. You don't have to visualize only the wins. It's just as powerful to imagine the hard moments. Picture yourself facing resistance and pushing through. See yourself falling and getting back up. Visualize moments of struggle and mentally practice how you'll respond. This makes you more adaptable. It prepares you for reality without breaking the link to your goal. When you've rehearsed struggle, you don't panic when it arrives. You rise. Start building this practice into your day. Before you tackle something important, pause and visualize it going well. Before you start your day, take a few minutes to mentally walk through your intentions. Before you commit to anything big, create space to visualize how you'll handle it. You'll begin to notice a shift. You'll feel more prepared. You'll approach things with a different kind of calm. You won't be operating from fear or doubt. You'll be operating from purpose. The more vividly you can see something, the more naturally you begin to believe in it. And the more you believe in it, the more consistent your actions become.
Success becomes less about motivation and more about direction. You're not waiting to feel ready. You're deciding to stay ready. That's the difference between those who dream and those who build. One group waits for perfect confidence. The other creates it through mental repetition. You might not be where you want to be yet, but that doesn't mean you can't start acting like the person who belongs there. Visualization helps bridge that gap. It helps you train your thoughts, your emotions, and your behavior to match your goals before those goals become visible. You align your identity with your outcome, and that alignment makes you unstoppable. Don't underestimate the small practice of imagining a successful outcome. It's not about fantasy, it's about direction. Every time you visualize success, you are sharpening your internal compass. You're creating a sense of certainty in a world filled with uncertainty. You're reminding yourself that your current struggle isn't the whole story. The story you choose to visualize is the one that begins to shape your actions. When you picture yourself overcoming, improving, growing, and reaching new levels, you raise your standards. You stop settling. You stop playing small. You stop entertaining behaviors that don't match your future. That's why visualizing success is so powerful. It forces you to confront the gap between who you are and who you need to become. And it gives you the clarity to start closing that gap one step at a time. Let your vision challenge you. Let it stretch your thinking. Let it remind you that you are capable of more than what your current environment reflects. See yourself succeeding, not just once but over and over again. Repetition is key. The more you feed your mind the image of success, the more that image becomes familiar, and what's familiar feels possible. What feels possible gets pursued. What gets pursued with discipline starts becoming real. You don't need permission to imagine something better. You don't need evidence before you create the picture. The image in your mind can come before the results. In fact, it must, because the internal shift always precedes the external transformation. First you believe, then you act, then you achieve. Most people try to do it in reverse. They wait to achieve before they believe. That's not how it works. Success starts with seeing it before it exists. So take the time. Picture yourself winning. See yourself breaking through. Imagine the joy of completion. Visualize your discipline showing up. Picture your mindset staying strong under pressure. Visualize the people you'll help, the life you'll build, the habits you'll master. Create that image with intention. Own it, and then carry it into everything you do. You'll still have setbacks. You'll still have days where the vision feels distant. But the difference is you'll know exactly what you're working toward. You'll be grounded in a mental image that's bigger than your current mood. And that's what will keep you moving forward, long after motivation fades. That's the kind of clarity that builds resilience. That's the kind of clarity that shapes a life worth living.
Chapter 14. Detach from past failures and focus on today. Most people stay trapped in the memory of what went wrong. They carry the weight of old mistakes as if dragging them through every new day will somehow undo them. But that kind of thinking only keeps you locked in the past. If you want to move forward, you need to cut the rope that ties you to yesterday's failures. You have to give yourself the permission to focus on now, not the regrets, not the moments where you lost control, not the times you let yourself down. Those things already happened. They're not happening now, and you are not the same person who made those decisions. You're here now, with the power to make a different choice. That's what people forget. They get so stuck on what they should have done that they forget what they still can do. There is no way to rewrite what's behind you, but there's every opportunity to rewrite what's ahead. The future doesn't care about your past unless you insist on dragging it forward. And that's a decision you have to make over and over, to not let your past define your next move. You're not here to live in reverse. You're here to grow from it and then let it go. No matter how bad it got, it's not happening anymore. The mistake is done. The opportunity you missed isn't coming back. And the only thing worse than failing is using that failure as a reason to stop trying. You owe it to yourself to stop replaying scenes that no longer belong to the current version of you. The more you replay the pain, the more you feed it, the more you revisit shame, the more you believe you deserve to stay in it. But if you decide that you've had enough of that cycle, then you can choose to redirect your attention. You can choose to place your energy into the only thing you have any control over this moment. It's tempting to believe that your past disqualifies you from becoming your best self. But what disqualifies you isn't the failure, it's the belief that failure is permanent. It's not. You're allowed to outgrow your old decisions. You're allowed to evolve beyond who you were when you made them. If you can accept that failure is part of progress, then you free yourself to keep building without shame. But if you keep punishing yourself for mistakes that are already behind you, you block your own growth. You can't create a better life while constantly beating yourself up for how you used to live. Letting go isn't about forgetting. It's about no longer identifying with who you were in your weakest moments. It's about acknowledging the lesson without carrying the pain. You don't need to hold on to guilt in order to prove you care. You don't need to carry regret in order to stay disciplined. You can learn without being stuck. You can reflect without becoming frozen. The difference between healing and staying broken is where you place your attention on the present opportunity or the past mistake. Every single day gives you a blank slate, but you have to take it. The world won't force you to move on. You have to decide that moving forward matters more than staying angry at yourself. You have to decide that your potential deserves more attention than your failures. That's not delusion. That's growth. That's maturity. That's ownership. You own your past by not hiding from it, but also by refusing to let it rule your identity. Some of the most disciplined people in the world have been through dark places. What sets them apart is that they didn't stay there. They didn't keep reliving their lowest points as proof of who they are. They built new standards. They built new habits. They stopped needing validation for their past and started taking responsibility for their future. You can do the same, starting today, not tomorrow, not when it feels more convenient. Right now, you can start by catching yourself in the pattern. Notice when your mind drifts into old guilt, into stories of "I should have known better," or "I can't believe I did that." Interrupt it. Replace it with a better question. What can I do today to build a better story? What action can I take right now that brings me closer to who I want to be? Because the only way to earn peace is to create progress. And progress doesn't start with thinking about the past. It starts with taking ownership of this minute, this hour, this day. Discipline grows in the present. And the more you act from this place of presence, the more you start to trust yourself again. That's how you rebuild your self-worth. You don't rebuild it by thinking. You rebuild it by showing up. You rebuild it by keeping promises to yourself in the now, not by explaining what went wrong in the past. There's a time for reflection, but reflection must lead to redirection. If it only leads to more shame, then it's no longer helpful, it's self-sabotage. Start practicing the mental habit of detachment. When thoughts of your past failures creep in, acknowledge them without judgment, but then refocus. You're not running from them. You're choosing not to let them drain your current strength.
There is nothing more powerful than reclaiming your mental energy from the stories that no longer serve you. You don't need to keep reliving your worst decisions in order to stay disciplined. That energy is better spent taking action today. The world doesn't care how many times you've failed. It only sees what you do next. And that's the truth. You could have lost years to distraction, fear, laziness, bad decisions, but if you decide today that it ends, you start shifting the story. Even if no one notices right away, you'll notice. You'll feel it in the way you walk, the way you think, the way you breathe. Let that be enough for now. Let your new choices be the proof that you're not the same person anymore. Don't wait for others to validate your growth. Don't expect applause for letting go. This is your journey, your process, your redemption. You don't need to explain yourself to anyone. Just be consistent with your new direction. That's where your strength lives, in quiet determination, in personal responsibility, in showing up even when no one's watching. That's how you let go of who you were and prove who you are becoming. It's easy to fall into the trap of overthinking your past. You start analyzing every decision, every word, every failure like your future depends on fixing it. But your future doesn't need fixing. It needs building. And you can only build with what's in front of you. So take your attention off the rearview mirror and put it on the road ahead. Focus on what you can do now, not later. Not someday, right now. That's where your power is. That's where discipline is born. And when you catch yourself spiraling into regret, don't fight it. Just pause, breathe, and shift your attention. Say to yourself, that version of me no longer exists. I'm building something new. Speak that truth until it becomes your mindset. Because detachment is a skill. It takes practice, it takes repetition, but the more you practice it, the lighter you feel, and the lighter you feel, the more energy you have to build. The world is full of people who never move on from what went wrong. They let a few mistakes steal their entire future. Don't let that be you. Don't give your power away to a version of yourself you've already outgrown. Decide that today is your turning point. Not because it's perfect, but because it's possible, because it's real, because it's the only thing you actually own. Whatever happened is part of your story, but it's not the whole book. Don't let one chapter define the rest. Close it, turn the page. Start writing a new one, not with excuses or apologies, but with action, with clarity, with focus. You're here to move forward. You're here to grow. You're here to build something that matters. And you can't do that while clinging to something that's already over. So stop waiting for peace to arrive by accident. Create it through discipline. Create it by honoring what's in front of you. The work, the process, the small decisions, that's where freedom is. That's where transformation begins. Not in the past, not in the memory, but right now, with your next breath, your next choice, your next step forward. That's how you win. Not all at once, but one present moment at a time.
Chapter 15. Guard your energy by setting strong boundaries daily. Every day, your energy is under attack. Not by enemies you can see, but by distractions, obligations, and people who drain more from you than they give. If you're not careful, your time and focus get consumed by things that don't align with your purpose. You wake up with good intentions, but by the end of the day, you've given pieces of yourself to everything and everyone except the mission you committed to. That's what happens when you don't have strong boundaries. You allow too much in, and you leave yourself empty. Setting boundaries isn't about being cold or selfish. It's about protecting your fuel. When you guard your energy, you become sharper, more focused, more powerful. You're no longer reacting to life. You're responding with clarity and control. You don't let just anyone into your mental space. You don't agree to every request. You don't keep tolerating things that drain you just because you're afraid to say no. You understand that your energy is finite, and it must be guarded like a treasure. Most people never realize how much energy they waste on things that don't matter. They say yes to every favor, they answer every call, they involve themselves in problems that don't belong to them. By the time they look up, their day is gone, and they're exhausted, mentally, emotionally, even physically. And they think the solution is better time management, but it's not. It's better boundary enforcement. Until you learn to protect your inner space, you will always feel overwhelmed. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve your purpose, you're saying no to something that does. That's the trade-off. And most people are making the wrong trade every single day. They don't even realize that every small decision is a leak in their energy tank. They think being available makes them dependable, but all it really does is make them depleted. If you want to stay consistent on your path, you have to start filtering your attention through discipline. Not everything deserves access to you. Boundaries are not walls that keep people out. They are filters that protect what's important. You don't need to isolate yourself, but you do need to be intentional. Intentional about who you engage with. Intentional about what you allow to affect your mind. Intentional about where you put your time. You're not here to be everything to everyone. You're here to stay loyal to what matters. And that loyalty requires limits. Not everyone will understand it, and that's okay. Your growth doesn't require their permission. You're not responsible for other people's comfort. You're responsible for your direction. And if you keep adjusting your life to make others comfortable, you'll eventually forget who you are. You'll lose track of your values. You'll bend your own rules. You'll say yes when you want to say no. You'll keep giving even when you're empty. That's not strength. That's self-abandonment. And that pattern needs to die if you're serious about building something strong. Every time you hold a boundary, you build trust with yourself. You reinforce that your goals matter. You remind yourself that your time is sacred. That's how real momentum is created, by making the decision daily to protect your focus from noise. And there's always noise. Opinions, requests, distractions, temptations. You have to be ruthless in what you allow, because energy isn't infinite. And once it's gone, it's gone. Start paying attention to how you feel after each interaction. Some people leave you feeling drained. Some environments make you feel heavy. Some conversations pull you back into patterns you've outgrown. And if you don't set a line between what serves your growth and what doesn't, you'll keep repeating cycles that kill your discipline. Awareness is everything. When you feel that heaviness, don't ignore it. That's your inner system signaling you. Listen, adjust, protect your space. A powerful life is a protected life. You can't operate at full capacity if your boundaries are weak. You can't chase greatness when your time is scattered. You can't reach new levels if you're constantly catering to distractions. Discipline isn't just about what you do. It's about what you refuse to let in. It's about what you say no to with strength and without guilt. And yes, it takes practice. It takes courage to speak up, to walk away, to close the door when it's necessary. But that's how you take your power back. Don't be afraid to disappoint people who expect you to be available all the time. Don't fear being misunderstood for choosing yourself. The right people will respect your space. The right ones won't require constant access.
And those who try to guilt you into being available for their chaos aren't aligned with your mission anyway. You're not here to live a life of emotional debt, always giving and rarely receiving. You're here to stand firm in what fuels your purpose. Every day is a test. You'll be tested by interruptions, temptations, unexpected demands. Your strength lies in how you respond. Will you crumble to every urgent voice, or will you stay rooted in what's important? Will you let your day be dictated by others, or will you own your schedule with intention? Your answer decides your progress. Your answer determines if you grow stronger or stay stuck in survival mode. You don't owe everyone your energy. You don't have to explain your boundaries to people who won't respect them. You don't need approval to prioritize your well-being. This is your life, and the quality of it depends on what you tolerate. If you keep letting people overstep, they will. If you keep sacrificing your needs to avoid conflict, you'll stay exhausted. The world will take what you allow. It's your job to draw the line. Boundaries don't make you rigid. They make you real. They allow you to show up fully where it matters most. They help you give your best without being pulled in 1,000 directions. They create room for your own growth, peace, and clarity. Without boundaries, your mind becomes cluttered, your goals get blurry, and your life feels out of control. But with boundaries, you regain command. You begin to act instead of react. You start to lead instead of chase. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is say nothing. Walk away. Log off. Stay out of the drama. Preserve your mind. Protect your purpose. Not every battle is worth your attention. Not every opinion deserves a response. Learn to conserve your energy like it's gold, because it is. The more you give it to what drains you, the less you have left for what builds you. You don't need to be available all the time to be worthy. You don't have to answer every message to be respectful. You don't need to show up for every situation that asks for your attention. Maturity is knowing that your energy has value, and it must be managed with precision. That's how high performers stay consistent. That's how disciplined people keep building. Not by doing more, by protecting more. When you honor your boundaries, your inner world becomes cleaner. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop resenting people. You stop feeling like a victim of your schedule. Because you finally understand that your time, your space, and your peace matter. That's not selfish, that's self-respect. And if you want to build a life that reflects your highest standards, you need to stop compromising them to keep others comfortable. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to cancel plans that no longer serve your focus. It's okay to say, I can't commit to that right now. You are not obligated to overextend yourself just to maintain an image. Your energy is your responsibility, and your discipline is reflected in how well you manage it. Don't burn out trying to be everything to everyone. Be loyal to your vision. Be loyal to your values. Let that guide you, not guilt, not pressure, not fear. Strong boundaries build strong people. They create space for you to do deep work. They give you time to rest, reflect, and recharge. They allow you to build something sustainable, something meaningful. You can't build a legacy on scattered attention. You need focus. You need clarity. And those things don't show up by accident. They are protected by your daily choices. If you want to live with power, learn to live with limits. Not limits that hold you back, but limits that keep you grounded. Limits that keep you aligned. Limits that make sure your energy goes where it belongs. And when you master that, you stop surviving and start thriving. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop explaining and start living with purpose. The people who reach their highest potential aren't the ones who say yes to everything. They are the ones who know exactly what to say no to. And they say it with strength, clarity, and peace. Because they know what's at stake. And so do you. Your goals, your focus, your discipline, your peace. Protect them like everything depends on it, because it does.
Chapter 16. Eliminate distractions that trigger negative thoughts quickly. Every day, your mind is exposed to more noise than it was ever designed to handle. From the moment you wake up, you're surrounded by distractions, digital, emotional, environmental. Most of these distractions don't just take your time. They shift your mood, distort your thinking, and pull you into mental states that weaken your discipline. If you don't take control over what enters your space, it's easy to lose yourself in cycles of doubt, irritation, or anxiety before the day even starts. And the worst part? It becomes your norm. You stop noticing how much your clarity is being eaten alive by distractions that don't belong in your life. Negative thoughts aren't always born from deep traumas or emotional wounds. Sometimes they're triggered by a simple scroll, an unnecessary conversation, or a constant exposure to environments that cloud your mind. Your energy drops. Your thinking gets foggy. Your drive gets blocked. And you think the problem is you, but the real enemy is what you're allowing in. It's the content you consume without thinking. It's the noise you accept in the background. It's the people you listen to who don't feed your growth. If you want to sharpen your mind, you have to cut the roots of what feeds its chaos. The mind is like a garden. It will grow whatever you allow in, whether it's weeds or wisdom. And what most people don't realize is that every distraction is a seed. It plants something in your mind. You think that 10 seconds of negativity doesn't matter, but it lingers. It stains your perspective. It echoes in the background while you're trying to stay focused. And eventually, those small distractions become patterns, and those patterns shape how you think, how you act, and what you believe about yourself. If you're serious about building mental strength, you have to develop the discipline to eliminate what doesn't serve your clarity. That means getting honest about what triggers your doubts. That means noticing the shift in your mood after you engage with certain things. That means filtering what you watch, what you read, and who you listen to. Because once you give your attention to something, you're giving it power. And not everything deserves to have that kind of access to your thoughts. You can't afford to waste your inner space on distractions that trigger negativity. You need that space for clarity. You need that space for strategy. You need it for creativity, peace, and direction. You can't perform at your highest level when your mind is clouded by someone else's noise. You have to recognize when something is not just unproductive, but mentally damaging. You have to notice when a simple distraction is actually rewiring your emotional response. And you have to act fast. Don't wait until you spiral. Don't wait until you're overwhelmed. Get rid of it before it grows. Distractions come in many forms. They aren't always obvious. Some of them wear the mask of entertainment. Some pretend to be urgent. Some disguise themselves as people you feel guilty ignoring. But the truth is, anything that makes your thinking more negative, more scattered, or more reactive is not harmless. It's dangerous. It pulls you out of alignment. It poisons your perspective. It changes the way you show up to your own life. And if you don't eliminate it, it will quietly dominate your thoughts without you realizing how much power you've given it. One of the most underrated forms of mental discipline is being able to pause before you engage. To stop yourself and ask, does this feed my clarity or my chaos? Does this strengthen my focus or weaken it? Is this helping me move forward, or is it slowing me down mentally? And the more you ask yourself these questions, the sharper you become. You start noticing how quickly your mind reacts. You start catching your own emotional shifts, and instead of spiraling, you start adjusting. You are not your negative thoughts. You are the gatekeeper of them. You can choose to interrupt them. You can decide to walk away from the triggers that spark them. You can design your environment to protect your peace. And that starts with removing anything that steals your ability to think clearly. It might mean deleting certain apps. It might mean distancing yourself from people who feed drama. It might mean unplugging when everyone else is plugged in. But whatever it takes, you do it. Because nothing is worth sacrificing your mental clarity. Most people let their minds get hijacked every morning. They wake up and immediately check their phones. They start reacting before they've had a single clear thought of their own. They get pulled into opinions, news, gossip and comparison, all before breakfast. And then they wonder why they feel anxious, insecure or tired. That's not a mystery. That's the result of feeding your mind with the wrong input. You have to be intentional. You have to build a shield around your thoughts. You have to create space between your mind and the madness outside of it. Sometimes your environment is the enemy. Not because it's loud, but because it's filled with things that make your mind slip into old habits. You walk into certain rooms and immediately feel small. You talk to certain people and start second-guessing yourself. You scroll through certain pages and begin doubting your progress. These aren't coincidences, these are psychological cues, and your brain responds to them automatically. The good news is, you can rewire those responses, but only if you stop exposing yourself to what causes the reaction in the first place. To eliminate distractions effectively, you need to replace them with anchors. Don't just delete. Replace. Don't just unplug. Reconnect to something stronger. Use that freed up space to build a better inner environment. Fill it with words that empower you. Spend time with ideas that challenge you to grow. Choose silence over noise when silence helps you reset. Choose movement over consumption when your body needs to release tension. Choose solitude over social chaos when you need to hear your own voice again. Your energy is finite. Protect it with precision. Not every notification is important. Not every message deserves a reply. Not every platform needs your presence. And not every thought that enters your mind deserves your attention. You can observe a thought without becoming it. You can feel a trigger and still choose a disciplined response. That's the essence of mental power. Not control over the world, but control over your internal reactions. And you strengthen that power every time you remove something that weakens it. Start with one thing, one trigger you've been tolerating, one app you check too often, one person whose presence drains your energy, one habit that always leaves you feeling worse. Get rid of it. Don't make excuses for why it needs to stay. Don't lie to yourself about how small it is. Small distractions are what lead to big dysfunction. And the longer you keep them around, the harder it becomes to access a clean state of mind. But once you let them go, you open the door to momentum. You feel lighter, sharper, more grounded. And that's when your growth accelerates. Discipline isn't just about doing hard things. It's about removing the easy things that destroy your focus. It's about having the awareness to notice when something feels off and the courage to do something about it. The quicker you respond, the more control you have. You can't be passive about this. If you wait too long to deal with mental clutter, it builds up. And when it builds up, it becomes harder to break. Don't give it that chance. Interrupt it the moment it appears.
Every time you choose clarity over chaos, you become stronger. Every time you say no to a mental distraction, you say yes to your purpose. Every time you eliminate a trigger, you free up space for something better. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about making one clean choice at a time until your entire life becomes aligned with strength, focus, and peace. And that kind of life can't be built on a distracted mind. You don't have to be controlled by your triggers. You don't have to keep repeating the same emotional loops. You don't have to live with a mind full of noise. You can take control back. You can clear the clutter. You can choose what stays and what goes. And once you do, you'll find a stillness inside you that's stronger than any external storm. You'll wake up each day with more direction. You'll move through life with more intention. You'll respond with clarity instead of reacting out of emotion. That's the reward of eliminating distractions early. Your mind becomes a place of power again. This is your responsibility. No one else will do this for you. You are the one who must guard your mental state. You are the one who must choose discipline over distraction. You are the one who must take control of your triggers instead of letting them control you. And the more you do this, the more momentum you build. The more you protect your mind, the more unstoppable you become. Don't delay. Don't wait until the damage is done. Eliminate anything that weakens your thoughts, quickly, clearly, and completely.
Chapter 17. Fuel your mind with empowering knowledge every morning. The quality of your day starts with the quality of your mind, and the quality of your mind is shaped by what you feed it, especially in the early hours, before the world has a chance to make its noise, before your phone lights up with someone else's urgency, before distractions come knocking. You have a short window to shape your mental direction. If you waste that window by filling your brain with pointless information or emotional garbage, the rest of the day unfolds in confusion. But if you use it to fill your mind with strength, wisdom, and clarity, you shift the entire energy of your day. You don't just wake up. You wake up with purpose. Your mind doesn't run on autopilot. It runs on what you allow into it. And the truth is, most people start their mornings by opening the door to mental clutter. They reach for their phone, scroll through nonsense, and let the outside world hijack their inner peace before they've even taken their first deep breath. And the problem is, once that becomes your pattern, it rewires your brain to live in reaction mode. You become addicted to noise. You become dependent on stimulation. And over time, you lose the ability to think with clarity and strength because you've trained your mind to chase chaos instead of feeding it focus. You have to start thinking of your mornings as sacred mental ground, not because they're quiet, but because they hold the power to frame your reality. That first hour sets the emotional tone for everything that follows. If you spend it wisely, reading something that expands your vision, listening to words that sharpen your mindset, reflecting on ideas that realign you with your goals, then you enter the day from a position of strength. You walk into the world with a mind that's already been lifted. And when life throws noise at you, you don't absorb it. You stay rooted in what you built earlier. Empowering knowledge is not just motivation, it's a mental upgrade. It shifts the way you interpret your reality. It breaks down the mental walls that kept you stuck yesterday. It offers you new patterns of thought that make your actions more effective. And the more consistently you feed your brain this kind of input, the more naturally it begins to adopt a sharper, stronger, more disciplined way of thinking. You don't need to force positivity when your mind is grounded in truth. You don't need to fake confidence when your thinking is built on wisdom. Empowering knowledge gives you mental armor, real protection against the doubts and distractions that come with every day. This isn't about consuming random information. It's about deliberate input. It's about choosing content that aligns with your growth, not your entertainment. It's about filling your mental space with words, stories, and lessons that push you to become better, not numb. That means you don't just read for comfort, you read for transformation. You listen to voices that call you to a higher standard. You study ideas that force you to question your assumptions. You build a morning habit around intellectual fuel that moves you forward. Every time you absorb empowering knowledge in the morning, you're reinforcing a mindset that says, I take control of how I show up today. You're no longer hoping to be focused, you're preparing to be focused. You're not relying on external motivation to push you, you're building your own internal drive. And that kind of momentum becomes powerful because it's not temporary, it's not dependent on circumstances, it's coming from within. And that's the kind of energy that lasts. Some people spend their mornings feeding their bodies and starving their minds. They eat, they shower, they dress, but they don't nourish the one thing that controls everything they're thinking, and then they wonder why they keep repeating the same habits. They wonder why they feel mentally tired before lunch. They wonder why they're easily irritated, confused, or emotionally thrown off. The answer is simple: the mind is underfed, and a weak mind can't produce strong actions. You don't have to read 100 pages a day. You don't need to listen to 10 podcasts. Even 15 focused minutes of powerful input can recalibrate your entire direction. You just need to make it consistent. You need to protect that time like it's your mental survival, because in many ways it is. Your thoughts create your choices create your habits create your results. If your thoughts are broken, nothing else will hold together. Empowering knowledge repairs your thinking before the day has a chance to break it. The world is filled with enough negativity, enough fear, noise, confusion, and false signals. If you don't build a filter, your mind will absorb all of it. But when you start the day with truth, when you fill your head with deep grounding and powerful insights, you begin to develop immunity to the things that used to throw you off. You stop reacting to opinions, you stop doubting yourself, you stop chasing distractions. Instead, you stay focused, you stay disciplined, you stay connected to something bigger than your current emotion. There is a silent power in making learning a daily ritual. It sends a message to yourself that says, I haven't peaked, I'm still growing. It reinforces a habit of humility and progress. It helps you stay grounded in the mindset that growth is a never-ending game. And that's what keeps you sharp. That's what separates you from those who plateau. That's what helps you rise while others remain stuck in the same cycles year after year. Because the truth is, most people want better lives, but they don't want to change their minds. You're not most people. You're here to build something stronger from the inside out. You'll start to notice something powerful when you make this a habit. Problems don't disappear, but they shrink in size. Challenges still come, but your approach is clearer. You stop seeing failure as the end. You start seeing it as feedback. You begin to handle pressure with more control. You respond to life with more precision. Why? Because your mind isn't reacting, it's leading. And that's what empowering knowledge gives you: leadership over your inner world. If you want a better life, you need better thoughts. If you want better thoughts, you need better inputs. And if you want better inputs, you need to stop waiting for time to read or learn. You need to make it part of your routine. Before emails, before errands, before social media, before opinions, before stress. Start your day by pouring truth into your brain. Pour in the lessons from those who walked the path before you. Pour in the discipline from those who mastered their habits.
Pour in the reminders that align you with your purpose. This habit doesn't just help you grow, it reminds you who you are. In a world that constantly tries to pull you in 100 directions, empowering knowledge anchors you, it realigns you. It calls you back to the strongest version of yourself. You remember what matters. You remember what you're building. You remember what you're capable of. And when you move through your day with that kind of clarity, you stop wasting energy on things that don't serve your progress. You'll begin to crave it. Not because it's a routine, but because your mind starts to feel different. You'll notice the shift in how you speak, how you react, how you problem solve. You'll notice how people respond to your presence. You'll notice how your ideas flow more clearly. That's the compounding power of empowering your mind consistently. It sharpens your instincts. It deepens your self-trust. It builds a version of you that isn't easily shaken. Some mornings you'll wake up tired. Some mornings you'll feel overwhelmed before the day even starts. That's exactly why you need this habit. That's exactly why you don't skip it. Because it becomes your mental reset. It becomes the anchor that keeps you steady. It becomes the foundation that your day stands on. And no matter what happens, you can keep showing up. Not because you're perfect, but because you've prepared your mind to stay focused. This is the difference between drifting through life and directing your life. The person who wakes up and reaches for power builds momentum. The person who wakes up and reaches for distraction builds chaos. You have to choose your pattern. You have to decide which direction you're feeding. And once you commit to this habit, not just sometimes but every morning, you'll realize that your potential was never about what you lacked. It was always about what you chose to fuel. Start small, stay consistent, choose inputs that stretch your mind, choose words that elevate your character, choose lessons that challenge your weakness and reinforce your strength, and make it non-negotiable, because when your mind is fed well, you make better decisions. When your thoughts are clean, your actions are powerful. When your perspective is strong, your path becomes clear. No one else is responsible for how you think. No one else can do the work for you. But once you decide to own this part of your routine, everything changes. The way you carry yourself, the way you solve problems, the way you navigate conflict, the way you pursue your goals. It all levels up because you've made a simple, powerful choice to fuel your mind with empowering knowledge every single morning.
Chapter 18. Act with confidence, even when doubt shows up. Confidence is not a feeling you wait for, it's a decision you make. It's an action you take, even when your mind isn't fully convinced. The truth is, doubt will always show up at critical moments. It doesn't need an invitation. It doesn't wait until you're ready. It walks in unannounced, whispering reasons why you're not enough, why you'll fail, why you should wait. And if you listen to that voice too long, you'll freeze. You'll start to question what you already know. You'll overthink what you already prepared for. You'll retreat when you should be stepping forward. The key isn't to wait for doubt to go away. The key is to act anyway. When you act in the face of doubt, you're not pretending. You're choosing courage. You're saying, I see the fear, I hear the noise, but I'm not letting it decide for me. That's real confidence, not arrogance, not delusion, but grounded belief in your ability to figure things out as you move forward. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to feel completely ready. You just need to move. Because action changes everything. The second you step forward, your mind begins to catch up. The hesitation starts to lose power. The self-doubt starts to weaken. You realize the fear wasn't as big as it seemed. You realize your strength lives in motion, not in endless thought.
Too many people wait for perfect certainty. They tell themselves they'll take the leap when they feel 100% confident. When the fear is gone, when everything lines up. That moment never comes. Waiting for confidence is the fastest way to kill momentum. You build confidence through action, not by standing still. You train your mind to trust you by showing up despite the noise. Every time you act while doubt is present, you're sending a message to yourself. I don't have to feel fearless to do what matters. That's a mental shift that changes everything. It makes you unstoppable. Doubt isn't proof that you're weak. It's proof that you're stretching. It shows up when you're outside your comfort zone. It appears when you're doing something that matters, something uncertain, something unfamiliar. And instead of seeing that as a sign to pull back, you need to reframe it. Let doubt be a signal that you're growing. Let it remind you that you're stepping into new territory. The very presence of doubt means you're not staying small. That's a good thing. You don't rise by waiting until you're bulletproof. You rise by moving through the storm with intention. Real growth happens when you move forward before you feel ready. That's when your self-belief is forged, not in comfort, not in safety, but in those moments where you take a breath, feel the tension, and step anyway. That's when your character sharpens. That's when your courage is tested. And that's when your confidence evolves from theory into reality. Because now you're not just thinking about what you could do, you're proving to yourself that you can do it. You can't eliminate doubt entirely, but you can stop giving it authority over your choices. You can stop treating it like truth. Doubt is just a reaction, a mental echo from your past, a pattern of thought that shows up because your mind is trying to keep you safe. It's not fact. It's not the full picture. And when you recognize that, you stop giving it control. You stop letting hesitation write your story. You stop letting fear dictate your pace. You start acting like the person you're becoming, not the one you used to be. Confidence is built in moments of discomfort. It's built when you walk into rooms you feel unprepared for and still speak with clarity. It's built when you pursue goals that scare you and stay consistent. It's built when you take the stage, make the call, start the project, when everything inside you says wait, but you say now. And the more you practice that, the more you strengthen that part of you that refuses to back down. Not because you never feel insecure, but because you've trained yourself to lead with action instead of emotion. Most people think confidence is something you're born with. It's not. It's built through repeated proof. It's a result of consistently showing yourself that you're capable. And that starts small. It starts with how you carry yourself when no one's watching. It starts with the promises you keep to yourself. It starts with how often you do what you said you'd do, even when you don't feel like it. Over time, those small wins accumulate. They become your foundation. They become your proof. And that proof becomes unshakable confidence. There will be days when your mind is loud. Days when doubt feels heavier than usual. Days when every move feels like a risk. Those are the most important days to act. Because it's not about making massive leaps. It's about refusing to stay frozen. Take one step. Say one true thing. Do one task you've been avoiding. That momentum might seem small, but it shatters the illusion that you're powerless. It puts you back in control. It reminds you that action is your way out of fear. The more you act despite doubt, the more you realize that confidence is just a byproduct of ownership. When you own your choices, when you take full responsibility for how you show up, doubt starts to shrink. It's still there, but it doesn't run the show anymore. You learn to live above it. You learn to move through it. You learn to hear it without letting it steer you. That's the difference between those who grow and those who stay stuck. One group listens to doubt and stops. The other hears it and keeps moving. People will tell you to just believe in yourself. But belief alone isn't enough. Belief without action is empty. You have to believe in yourself enough to act. Even when belief feels shaky. You have to take the leap while your voice trembles. You have to trust yourself when the outcome isn't guaranteed. That's how belief becomes real. That's how you prove to yourself that you're not defined by your doubts, but by your decisions. You can't fake real confidence. You can't talk your way into it. You have to live it. You have to earn it. And that happens by doing the thing that scares you, by facing the moment you've been avoiding, by standing tall when everything inside you wants to hide. That's the path to real strength. Not pretending you don't feel fear, but refusing to let fear make your choices for you. Acting with confidence doesn't mean you won't make mistakes. You will, but you'll learn faster. You'll grow faster. You'll discover abilities you never saw in yourself because you moved before you were ready. And once you start experiencing those breakthroughs, the doubt starts losing its grip. Because now you have evidence. Not theories. Not guesses. Real evidence of your strength. This is how leaders are built. Not by avoiding doubt, but by walking through it with conviction. Not by chasing perfect timing, but by creating it through decisive action. If you want to separate yourself from the crowd, act with clarity when others hesitate. Move forward when others wait. Stand firm when others shrink. Confidence isn't loud. It's not flashy. It's consistent, grounded, and rooted in action. Don't wait for someone to hand you permission. Don't wait for external validation to make a move. If you know it's right, if it aligns with your purpose, step forward. You don't need to feel ready to be ready. You don't need a flawless plan to begin. All you need is the willingness to move with intention despite the noise. Every time you do that, your confidence grows. Your voice gets stronger. Your presence becomes more solid. And you start creating the life you were meant to live. You weren't meant to be perfect. You were meant to be bold. You weren't designed to stay small. You were designed to expand. And that expansion starts the moment you stop letting doubt define your identity. Your mind may hesitate, but your actions can lead. Your fear may speak, but your choices can silence it. The more you act with confidence, the more you become the kind of person who doesn't need to wait for the right feeling to do the right thing. This is how you rise. One act of courage at a time. One step through the noise. One move in the face of fear. And every time you do, you're not just building momentum, you're building a new identity. The identity of someone who trusts themselves, even when it's hard. Someone who refuses to shrink in the face of uncertainty. Someone who leads with action, not doubt. You don't need to feel fearless to be powerful. You don't need to have every answer to take the next step. You just need to act like the person you're becoming. Let your actions lead, and your confidence will catch up. Let your decisions reflect your strength, and your doubt will fade. The world doesn't need another person frozen by fear. It needs you to rise. It needs you to move. It needs you to act with confidence, especially when doubt shows up.
Chapter 19. Reflect on progress weekly to grow even stronger. The real growth doesn't happen when you're rushing forward blindly. It happens when you pause, take a deep breath, and actually look back at where you started. Weekly reflection isn't some fancy trick reserved for high achievers. It's a necessity for anyone serious about their own progress. You can train hard every day, push yourself to new limits, and stay consistent with your habits. But if you're not checking in with yourself on a regular basis, you're running on autopilot. You're guessing instead of measuring. You're reacting instead of adjusting. You're hoping things will work out instead of making sure they do. Reflection is how you close the gap between effort and results. It's where you identify what's working, what's holding you back, and what needs to change. Without reflection, you can spend weeks doing something that isn't actually helping you. But when you slow down and ask the right questions, you take control of your trajectory. You step out of the blur of daily motion and start moving with precision. You become sharper. You become more honest. And honesty with yourself is where real strength is born. Most people avoid reflection because they're afraid of what they might find. They don't want to admit they wasted time. They don't want to face the fact that they didn't follow through. They'd rather keep moving and tell themselves that staying busy is the same as making progress. But it's not. Progress is intentional. It's strategic, and it's impossible to be strategic if you don't stop and think. You can't course correct if you don't look at the map. You can't grow if you never assess where you're weak. Weekly reflection is about being brutally honest without tearing yourself down. It's not about guilt or regret. It's about growth. It's about owning your process and deciding what kind of person you want to become. It's about facing your own patterns and choosing better ones. It's about holding yourself to a higher standard, not out of shame but out of hunger for improvement. When you reflect, ask yourself what you did well. Don't gloss over your wins. Celebrate them. Acknowledge the moments where you showed up, followed through, and stayed disciplined even when it wasn't easy. Those wins build your belief. They show you what's possible when you commit fully. And then ask yourself where you fell short. Not to criticize yourself, but to learn. What threw you off track? What distracted you? What excuses did you make? Be real about it. Don't sugarcoat it. Because the more honest you are, the more control you regain. You can't fix what you refuse to admit. Your weekly reflection should be uncomfortable sometimes. That's a good sign. It means you're not lying to yourself. It means you're pulling back the layers and looking at what's really going on. Comfort is the enemy of clarity. If every reflection session feels easy, you're not digging deep enough. Growth requires discomfort. Growth demands truth. And truth only comes when you're willing to face what's difficult without flinching. This isn't about perfection. You're not aiming to have a flawless week every week. You're aiming to get better, to adjust, to evolve, to remove what no longer serves you, to strengthen what moves you forward. That's how champions are built. Not by never messing up, but by learning faster than everyone else. By refusing to repeat the same mistakes. By turning every failure into feedback. That level of self-awareness makes you dangerous, in the best way. It means you don't rely on motivation alone. You rely on discipline sharpened by data. You rely on reflection that turns effort into results. Don't wait until the end of the month or the end of the year to look back. By then it's too late to fix what went wrong in real time. Weekly reflection gives you agility. It gives you speed. It keeps you from drifting too far off course. You catch mistakes early. You make small tweaks that lead to massive differences over time. You stay intentional instead of reactive. You build momentum that compounds. This practice also builds humility, because when you reflect consistently, you realize how much there is to improve. And that's not a bad thing. It's freeing. You stop pretending you have it all together. You stop faking confidence. You start owning the gaps and taking action. You become more coachable, more grounded, more willing to evolve. That humility makes you stronger. not weaker. It opens the door to real transformation. Reflection should become a ritual, a non-negotiable. Block time for it, like you block time for your workouts or your projects. Give it your full attention. Put your phone away. Sit with a notebook. Let your thoughts surface. Write down what you're proud of, what frustrated you, what you learned, what you want to improve next week. This process doesn't need to be complicated. It just needs to be real, consistent, honest, and committed. One powerful benefit of weekly reflection is that it reinforces your identity. Every time you reflect, you remind yourself who you're becoming. You reconnect with your values. You remember why you started. That kind of alignment keeps you focused. It keeps you grounded when things get chaotic. It reminds you that growth isn't about speed, it's about direction. And if you're always moving in the right direction, even if progress feels slow, you're still winning. You also start to notice patterns. You see where you keep slipping. You notice what tasks you keep avoiding. You recognize what people or habits drain your energy. That insight is priceless. It helps you make better choices. It helps you eliminate what doesn't serve you. It helps you protect your time, your focus, your peace. And the more you refine your weekly rhythm, the more unstoppable you become. You don't need to wait for a rock-bottom moment to reflect. Do it proactively. Do it when things are going well. That's when you can double down on what's working. That's when you can stretch yourself further. And when things are tough, reflection becomes your anchor. It keeps you from spiraling. It reminds you that even in setbacks there's still progress. Even in failure, there's still growth. That perspective keeps you mentally strong. Weekly reflection also deepens your gratitude, because when you look back, you realize how far you've come. You remember moments where you wanted to quit but didn't. You see how many obstacles you've already overcome. You see the strength that's been building silently. That gratitude fuels your drive. It reminds you that you're capable, that you're already stronger than you think, that you've already made progress others would envy. This habit separates the focused from the distracted, the intentional from the reactive, the disciplined from the wishful. And you don't need anyone's permission to start. You just need a commitment to your future. You need the courage to pause and reflect, even when it's uncomfortable. You need the discipline to keep doing it every week, no matter how busy life gets. Because that weekly check-in will become your greatest advantage, your secret weapon, your moment to recalibrate and come back even stronger. You have the power to shape your path, but you can't do that blindly. You need clarity. You need awareness. You need reflection. Every time you sit down and honestly evaluate your week, you take ownership of your life. You stop drifting. You stop guessing. You start going. With every session, you sharpen your edge. You increase your control. And you take one more step toward becoming the version of yourself that no longer needs to be reminded to show up with excellence. Because showing up is just who you are now. Never underestimate the impact of small habits done consistently. Weekly reflection may feel simple, but it will change the way you operate. It will help you rise faster. It will keep you grounded in your purpose. And over time, it will build a life that reflects your deepest values. So don't skip it. Don't rush it. Don't dismiss it. Embrace it. Make it sacred. Make it yours. Let it become the space where you grow stronger, smarter, and more focused week after week.
Chapter 20. Commit to positive thinking as a daily habit. Positive thinking is not about pretending everything is perfect. It's not about lying to yourself or ignoring pain.
It's about choosing to take control of the way your mind works so you don't fall into patterns that destroy your momentum. Every day your thoughts create a ripple effect that either builds you up or pulls you under. And if you don't take responsibility for how you think, you end up a prisoner of negativity without even realizing it. The way you think shapes your energy, your actions, your choices, and your emotional resilience. If your mind is wired to expect the worst, you'll sabotage yourself before you even try. But if your thinking is aligned with strength, purpose, and optimism, you'll face challenges with a clear head and keep moving forward even when things get hard. You don't wake up with positive thinking already installed. It's a discipline, not a personality trait. It's a decision you make every day, especially when it's hardest. You choose to redirect your thoughts when they drift into fear. You choose to speak to yourself with strength instead of self-pity. You choose to challenge the false stories you've been telling yourself for years. It starts when you get tired of being at war with your own mind. When you realize that your thoughts either push you forward or hold you back. Every day you live in your own head more than anywhere else, so that space better be clean, strong, and fueled with clarity. Negative thoughts are addictive. They multiply fast, they feed on uncertainty, and grow stronger when you let them sit unchecked. One negative thought leads to another, and before long, you're spiraling, doubting your potential, overthinking everything, and shrinking away from opportunities. And if you're not intentional, that becomes your default state. That becomes your identity. You start believing that your future is determined by circumstances instead of your response to them. But the truth is, your thoughts create your reality long before your actions do. If you want to live differently, you have to think differently first. There's no magic formula for positive thinking. It's built one decision at a time. It happens when you challenge the automatic reactions that no longer serve you. It happens when you interrupt a complaining thought and replace it with a solution. It happens when you choose hope instead of helplessness, strength instead of fear, growth instead of regret. It's about switching from asking, "Why is this happening to me?" to "What can I learn from this?" or "How do I grow from this?" That shift is small, but over time it creates a completely different life. Start your mornings by grounding yourself in empowering thoughts. Don't open your day to negativity, noise, or distractions. Begin with a thought that anchors your focus. Remind yourself what you're capable of. Visualize the version of yourself you're becoming. Say something to yourself that pulls your mind in the right direction. It might sound simple, but those first few minutes shape how you think for the rest of the day. If you begin your day with doubt, you'll carry it into everything you do. But if you start with strength, you'll face your tasks with clarity and presence. That's why this practice matters. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can always control what you focus on. When your mind starts drifting into fear, bring it back. When your thoughts become harsh or destructive, redirect them. Not because you're pretending things are easy, but because you've made a decision not to stay trapped in a cycle that weakens you. Positive thinking doesn't mean you avoid problems. It means you face problems with the mindset of someone who's already decided they're not going to lose. That mindset is powerful. It doesn't just change how you feel. It changes what you do. Train yourself to question every negative thought that enters your mind. Where did it come from? Is it even true? Does it reflect who you are or who you used to be? What are you gaining by holding on to it? When you start thinking like this, you stop accepting thoughts as facts. You start to break the mental habits that keep you stuck. Your inner dialogue becomes sharper, more disciplined, more intentional, And that's when you begin to notice how much energy you were wasting on false narratives and unhelpful thinking. Affirmations can help, but they must be backed by action. Telling yourself, "I am strong," means nothing if you keep running from discomfort. Positive thinking must be tied to your behavior. You must live in alignment with the mindset you're cultivating. That means doing the work. That means keeping your promises to yourself. That means stepping into the version of you that you talk about. And when your actions and your thoughts are in sync, you develop confidence that doesn't need hype. You develop mental strength that doesn't break under pressure. Guard your mental inputs. Be mindful of the environments, people, and content you expose yourself to. Because if your surroundings are soaked in negativity, you'll have to fight twice as hard to stay clear-headed. Don't underestimate the power of influence. If you constantly hear complaints, gossip, and pessimism, you'll absorb it even if you don't agree with it. Protect your space like your life depends on it. Because your mental health does. Create a life that supports your positive thinking. Build routines, boundaries, and habits that keep your energy clean. The people you surround yourself with will either reinforce your positive mindset or challenge it. Choose wisely. If someone constantly dumps negativity into your life, you must limit access. That doesn't mean you hate them. It means you love yourself enough to protect your progress. You can't grow if you're constantly battling the weight of someone else's mindset. Find people who challenge you to think better, aim higher, and speak more intentionally. Energy is contagious. Be around those who elevate it. You'll still have bad days. You'll still experience doubt. But when positive thinking becomes your default, those moments won't shake you as much. You'll bounce back faster. You'll catch yourself sooner. You'll stay grounded when things get hard. That's the real value of this habit. It doesn't eliminate pain, but it gives you power in the middle of it. You stop reacting impulsively. You stop spiraling. You start choosing how to respond. That choice is your superpower. The deeper you go into this discipline, the more you begin to see how much of your past was shaped by uncontrolled thinking. How many times you played small, not because you weren't capable, but because your mind was filled with fear. How many opportunities you let pass because you believed your doubt more than your potential. But you don't have to keep repeating that. You can rewrite the script. You can train your mind to support your purpose instead of sabotaging it. You can take full ownership of your thoughts, your direction, and your energy. Journaling is a powerful way to reinforce positive thinking. Write down what you're grateful for. Write about what you did well. Write out the thoughts you want to live by. Don't just keep it in your head. Put it on paper. Turn your mindset into something tangible. Make it real. Review it. Reflect on it. Let it evolve as you grow. This practice creates structure around your thinking. It gives your mind something to come back to when the world feels chaotic. Positive thinking doesn't make life easier. It makes you stronger. It makes you more adaptable, more focused, more determined. It's what helps you keep going when things aren't going your way. It's what allows you to find lessons in your pain. It's what gives you perspective when your emotions try to take over. When you make this mindset your foundation, you become unshakable, not because you never fall, but because you never stay down.